All right, welcome to the Fresh Perspective. This is episode 10, I believe, Joey, right? And I'm here with good friend, special guest, Joseph Arthur.
Hola.
Welcome
It's
to the
weird
Fresh
to be able to
Perspective.
see us.
It's cool though, right?
Yeah, it is cool. But
Welcome to the Fresh Perspective.
thanks, man. Thanks
Finally
for
got
having
you
me
here.
on.
I'm excited about it.
It was fun riding in.
Let's try not to give Joe a heart attack in the
man.
McLaren on the way here.
Got a little scared a couple times. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
saw him tensing up, and I was like, okay, let me just put it in cruise mode.
Because my thing is like, I trust you, but I don't trust other people not to go like, oh, let me just do this. And when you're zooming like that, it's like, I don't know. How do you?
I don't know. There's a method to the madness, but maybe on the way back, I'll show you. I'll give you a play-by-play in my head.
All right.
But for those who don't know you, why don't you give some kind of an introduction to kind of who you are and how you could sum yourself up, I guess.
I'm an artist and a songwriter, musician. Been putting records out since the 90s, since mid 90s, and making paintings for that long as well. And living like that. Yeah, I have a podcast as well called Come to Where I'm From with Joseph Arthur. I got a co-host, Ehud Lazen. What else? How else would I sum myself up? Working on myself a lot. I box.
That's an never-ending practice.
I'm always striving to like get my state of mind into a good space. So that's like what I think like my life's work is, just getting my state of mind in a good place so I can give kind of the
best version of yourself.
Yeah, and just sort of share the light, try to bring light into this ever darkening landscape.
So me and Joe met actually at the Kava bar. This is actually we're drinking here.
At the speakeasy.
This is Kratom, but salute,
Cheers.
by the way, Joe.
Salud.
Malo, Bula, whatever, all that good stuff. We both frequent this tea spot in the city. That's where I met Joe.
Kava.
Just from looking at Joe, I had a feeling he was musically involved in some capacity or another. I did not realize that you were, I guess as big as you are in that space. Were you always a New York guy?
I grew up in Ohio, Akron, Ohio, and then I lived in Atlanta when I graduated high school.
You and LeBron for hometown hero.
Yeah, and the Black Keys.
Yeah,
they're all in my same high school. Not LeBron. I don't think he didn't go to Firestone, but he was from Akron.
And when did you move to New York?
So then I moved to Atlanta. Like I graduated high school and moved to Atlanta with a band called 10 Zen Men. Never went to college, and ultimately made a demo tape that got to Peter Gabriel by luck, or my friend Michael K. It's a long story, but
how old are you at this point?
Early 20s, like 24.
Had you been making music since you were like a kid?
Yeah, I was a professional musician even in high school.
Oh, wow.
I played 5 nights a week in Cleveland bars in this band called Frankie Star and Chill Factor.
Before you could even drink?
Well, yeah, but I drank. I drank a lot,
Shit.
and they would let us drink. They would let me drink. Like they would just give me Coke, like Coca-Cola, but it had rum in it, you know? So like I would drink rum and Coke, so it looked like I was just drinking
At like
Coke.
15 years old.
I was like 16, 17.
Oh, no, okay.
But it was 5 nights a week. Like it was a lot. So last year of high school, I just went half days, and I would get home at like 3 a.m, wasted.
But you were actually making money.
I was making a lot of money.
That's what I'm saying. Kids in high school, you must have been like at that point.
I was a billionaire for high school because I made $50 a night every night, 5 nights a week.
Compared to kids that are making
cash
nothing.
money, like with no expenses. And I was doing that for years. So like by the time I was like, it was crazy how much money I had.
But if you were pro by the time you were in high school, when did you actually start picking up? Like, did at that point were you singing? Were you playing instruments?
I was just playing bass. I never thought I was going to sing. I was into jazz fusion. I wanted to be a bass superstar. Like I love Jaco Pastorius and Stanley Clarke. And what happened is I entered this thing called the Guitar Wars in Cleveland.
Okay.
And it was just like guitars, like battling. Have you ever seen the movie Crossroads where like Steve Vai and Ralph Macchio,
No.
the Karate Kid? Anyway, it's a great scene in there where they have a battle, and it's basically like, he's battling Satan on,
It's like
guitar.
freestyle riffing.
It's just like riffing, yeah. And so they did this thing called the Guitar Wars, and I was the only one that entered as a bass player. And I got to the top 4.
At what age is this?
16.
Okay. And this is what propelled you into being professional?
So the guy that beat me was Frankie Star, who then
Oh, shit.
I lost, but then the manager came up to me and says, "Hey, do you want to be in a band?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Fuck yeah.
And so that's like my life.
The only thing that I want to do.
My life changed at that point.
But how long have you been playing? Like, if you're a pro at that point, like, how long have you been playing beforehand? Like, how early in your childhood did you start playing bass?
That's a good question. I was always, my aunt gave me a synthesizer and I started composing early on.
Like, how early?
Like 12,
Okay.
maybe.
It's like middle school.
Yeah, like, and I started playing piano when I was younger than that. And then when I just took to bass a lot, like I really like loved learning how to slap and pop and do all that kind of stuff. So
Is music in your family?
Not really. My grandma played some.
But like, how did you get the? It's not like today where you can go on YouTube and learn. Like, where did your motivation and your education come in music? If that was kind of like not in your family and there was no internet.
I took some guitar lessons at the local music store, but really, it's like these things come from like this big desire, like you like to just propel yourself out of a sticky situation in life, you know. So I feel like if you come from like some form of turmoil, that can really help you in ways like because it motivates you to like get really into something and it drives you become driven. So I was really driven to excel at this because I had this deep feeling that if I don't excel at something, I'm worthless. You know, it was just like, not that that's a healthy perspective. But it's
definitely a motivational one.
But it was, I felt that fully. So it was like, so you work at something like your life depends on it.
Because in your mind it does.
Because in your mind it does. And so I was very much like that with it. And so, yeah, and then I just manifested this amazing gig. We opened up for Stevie Ray Vaughan. We opened up for, like, we were a big blues band in Cleveland. Like we opened up for all like the big blues acts that would come through. And
this is early 90s?
No, this is late 80s, like late 80s. Late 80s, yeah.
Joe is the ageless wonder. For those who don't know, no one actually knows his true age.
49.
Knows. 49 is
49.
Just an estimate.
Yeah, that's
point.
an estimate. I'm actually aging. I'm trying to get younger, but I don't know.
So at 16, you're runner-up in this guitar contest, but somehow that propels you into even just. I guess you got the exposure you needed.
Yeah, well, they needed a bass player because.
They didn't have one.
Their old one was Stutz Bearcat, who's also kind of a Cleveland legend.
Tell you right now, I'm not going to know any of these names.
Well, these are just like, I mean, you wouldn't know them, but people in Ohio know them.
Yeah, and people in the music industry, I'm sure, do also.
Yeah, probably people that really have their ear to the ground of the Cleveland blues scene.
And what happened to that guy that you replaced? What was...
I mean, he's killing. I mean, amazing story with him because he was like a Buddhist, but like an amazing bass player named Stutz Bearcat. He got fired.
What a fucking name.
Right. He got fired because he did this other band with Butch Armstrong. Stutz Bearcat, Butch Armstrong.
Fuck, these guys, whose parents, like, I got John. Like, they couldn't get some creative, cool shit going like that?
Right. But so, and then.
John
like,
and two Joes here.
Me and Stutz ended up becoming friends, even though I ended up taking his job. And he was like, I was a kid and he was like in his mid 30s. These guys were in their mid 30s, you know?
There's no animosity after it?
No. I mean, he
Stutz
was
is a cool cat.
He was cool. And then years later in LA, I was staying at my ex-girlfriend's house on the couch. Actually, I think with my new girlfriend. We remained friends. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and this is in Los Angeles, West Hollywood, Stutz Bearcat walked through the living room. And I was just like, dude, what the fuck, did we take are you doing here? Because he was from Ohio and from my past. So it was just completely random that he happened to be friends with my ex-girlfriend on some, I don't know what stuff. Like he went to LA to work on a TV show for Buddhism or something like that. Anyway. Man, what a rabbit hole I just went down.
No, I'm fascinated by this. So
Like that's crazy.
how long did you end up playing with that band for that you were a pro with? What was the name of the first band?
Frankie Star and Chill
Okay,
Factor.
so that's the blues band.
Yeah. So what happened is about a month before I had to graduate high school, this doctor said, "You got mono. You have to either quit the band or drop out of high school." Because I was like staying up till like 3, 4 in the morning, getting up at 7 a.m., walking through school like till noon, and then going home and
Beating
sleeping.
yourself down.
Sleeping all like from noon till 6, then driving to Cleveland to do another gig. So it was crazy. So at that point, I was like, Frankie, I need to graduate high school, which I kind of wish I just would have dropped out of high
I was
school.
gonna say, I thought that's what we were gonna say.
Such a hipper story. Like, so much more cred
Yeah.
if you're a high school dropout. But I was soft and I said, I'm going to graduate high school.
Got the diploma.
I have to quit the band. And he goes, well, you can have your job back after you graduate. And I was like, you know what, man? I think I'm going to like, because I could have just stayed and kept doing that.
Yeah.
You know, it was good money. I could have just gone right into my own place.
That clearly wasn't what you wanted to do anyway.
I just wanted to explore life. So I ended up moving like 4 days later to Atlanta with this band, 10 Zen Men. And then that led to then making a demo tape, getting a record deal. I moved to like,
So wait, don't skip over that though. So now this is right after high school. Now I'm assuming you're 18 years old.
yeah.
You go to Atlanta,
Uh-huh.
and what happened to the demo tape?
So I was in this band. I was still a bass
There's no
player.
SoundCloud at this point. Mind everybody.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't sing yet, and I was in the band for a couple of years in Atlanta. We played around, but we didn't really get any success. I started my own band singing and played around and didn't really get any success either.
What was that one called?
Belly Button.
Okay. The names are always fascinating. This
terrible.
genre has the craziest fucking names of bands.
So then I just decided to make an acoustic guitar, like folky kind of demo tape, and on cassette. I made like 100 cassettes because then there was no internet yet.
Yeah.
And so
What'd you do with them?
you would just give them to friends, or you would send them to record companies,
Hoping they'd play it.
and most of them would come back return to sender, do not accept unsolicited material.
So probably get 1,000 of them. Yeah.
Right. And I gave one to my friend Michael K, just a random friend. And he gave it to somebody at a record company in Atlanta. That guy sent it to this guy Harvey in New York. And then Peter Gabriel came through town, and Harvey played Peter Gabriel the demo tape. And then Peter Gabriel called me, and I was like,
Peter Gabriel's a big exec?
no, Peter Gabriel's a famous artist.
Okay.
Like he had that "In Your Eyes," the light, the heat in your, you know that song?
Maybe if I heard it. I don't know. Joe, you gotta pull it up.
He doesn't know who Peter Gabriel is.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
We're in trouble. I mean, big time. I'm on my way. I'm making it.
Maybe if I heard it.
Big time. What else?
Give me the hook. Give me the hook. No, I'm just kidding.
Can we play a little bit of it?
Will that get our fucking thing flagged? Probably. Trademark.
Anyway, Peter Gabriel's a great artist.
Okay, but so
He was in a band called Genesis.
and he's signed to the label that got your tape.
He's the owner of the label.
Oh, he owns the label
He
also.
started the label.
Oh
yeah.
shit!
And so
So
he's
just by fucking dumb luck getting passed through 4 people's hands, it ends up in his lap.
total.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
It's crazy. It's like the
Life-changing passing of a cassette.
unbelievably life-changing. Yeah.
And the opportunity back then was so much smaller. Everyone complaining now about fucking anything in life, but in the
Yeah.
music industry, the fact that you can just sit in your goddamn basement,
Yeah.
put something together and broadcast it to anywhere in the world. I mean, back then you had to literally get lucky or to get discovered like that. So much harder.
People say that, yeah, like, oh, it's impossible now. It's always been impossible. It's
Yeah.
always been some version of impossible.
Yeah.
So it's like, now it's almost like you're kind of confronted with yourself a lot more now because, yeah, there is nothing really stopping you from creating your own TV show, for instance, like what you've done here. Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of people I know want to be creative content creators, but there's all kinds of psychological layers in between manifesting that and like the procrastination and
Everyone's
just like
scared.
fear.
That's all it is. It's just
fear.
everyone's just scared to pull the trigger. What is everyone going to say? Am I going to suck? Are they going to make fun of me? And at that point, you've already lost.
Well, I have all kinds of things like that I'm still on the wrong side of fear with.
But yeah, but
and then
everybody
there's other
does.
things I have that I'm on the right side of fear with. So it's like,
But what kind of a sociopath would you have to be to not have that go through your head? The whole
Right.
point is not letting it cripple you.
yeah,
Right? Like everybody, I don't care who the fuck, right? Everybody has those thoughts.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, does this suck? Am I any good? Or just whatever the fuck it is? Like,
yeah,
you know, but just keep pushing on. If it's what you like to do, no matter what it is, you got to just keep doing it.
right. It's interesting, the psychological layers that get in your way.
Fascinating. So
It
I'm doing
really
the online
is.
coaching now for the training.
Right.
And the psychology behind that is equally, it's very similar. And it's fascinating also, like to the point where I've had people, and I charge a lot of money for my services. I'm not cheap. I'll say right off the bat.
How much do you charge?
It's, well, I'm gonna tell you, it was like, you
Off
know,
the record?
yeah, no, whatever. Like for like a 3-month coaching, like this is just online. It's like $1,000, right? It's not, it's a big ask, but if you want to fucking change your life,
And do you talk to them or what?
yeah, no, we have weekly check-ins. I set up full diet plans for them, coaching. Like I'm very hands-on, but it's like having a personal coach but just you're not going to see me in person. This is all online.
Uh-huh.
But whatever, you know, neither here nor there. So I've had people sign up, and then when confronted with having to start, disappear. Paid me already,
Right.
and just when it comes time to put the work in, like shut down with fear,
Right.
and don't show up day one. Block my number. Like, people who paid me $1,000 and then just never came back.
Wait, and they'll actually block your number?
Yeah. Yep. They're just so afraid to confront the hard work ahead and the fear of failure and struggle, and they know it's not going to be easy, and I got the diet, and or I'll have people who, you know, who'll be like, I want to do it. I'm like, well, are you ready to start?
Why do they block your
On
number?
Monday
though?
or New Year's,
But
and then
why
New
do
Year's
they,
comes. You
why do
ready?
they block?
Because I guess they're just so afraid to
Even be confronted with it?
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating with psychology?
Because my take would be if
They
I'm
shut down.
if I'm motivated enough to improve to give you $1,000, I'm at least motivated enough to say,
easier.
like, hey man, I'm hitting my first already.
But
I'm
think
hitting
about-
my first barrier. You know, like
It's the difficulty level. Like hitting a couple buttons on your phone, much easier than, okay, now you get to go to the gym today. You can't eat that fucking cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah, but just you got to face yourself that you had to block somebody because you like that's hard. Like you got to. That's a lot of running you got to do at that point.
running from yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, you're running full steam away from yourself.
It's really fascinating. A lot of people hit me up on social media all the time, and I give a ton of free gems out online. Like it comes to fitness, if you're into training, I'm giving out free knowledge all the time. And people are like, oh, I want to train with you, I want to do it, and it's like, okay, well, there's only one more like question after this point. It's like, okay, when do you want to start, right? Like, so I like, I don't know what they expect me to say back. It's like, okay, let's go, and it's like, and then it's like. The fear, I should see the fear in their eyes if we're in real life. I can sense it in their backpedaling in their statements. Like I can already feel it. I can call when they're gonna back out because they start setting it up and planting the seeds of like of doubting themselves or like ways out. And oh, I just got to take care of this one last thing I got going on. Say, okay, let me know when you're serious.
Yeah, it's like that young quote. It's like until you bring the unconscious into the conscious, it'll guide your life and you'll call it fate. Like it's the subconscious. It's like all those
Like that self-fulfilling prophecies type of deal.
It's just those deep layers that you know, that's I guess why therapy is good, or sort of psychedelics can be good in that way too.
Showing you what you're doing on that subconscious layer.
Yeah, I guess just seeing
A lot of the
from
shit you bring
different
upon yourself,
perspectives.
right?
What do you mean?
Like in that regards, like you're saying, like you might have some kind of a fear or an insecurity, and you're doing things through your subconscious that makes them manifest them into real life.
Yeah.
And then you look at it like, oh, see, I knew it. Meanwhile, you brought that upon yourself by your actions and thoughts, led you there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's super fascinating. And then the fear is something that's just, to me, I find psychology super fascinating as it is. So like when this happens, I'm like, I can't believe this guy will pay me and then bail. Like Monday is here, Tuesday is like it's time to go to work, and like that money he'll just let it go.
Do you have like a morning routine that gets you going in the day, like towards the right direction? Do you work
As far
on
as
that?
training goes, or mentally?
Or
What do you mean?
mentally, like any kind of like Wim Hof cold shower, meditation?
For me, I need to be goal oriented, or otherwise I lose myself. Like I know about myself, I don't have a big goal that I'm striving towards. If I wake up in the morning, even if it's for a day, without purpose, I get mentally, I'm very off.
Yeah.
I need something that I'm striving towards that's in my head, greatness or something creative or
Right.
whatever's a big picture. Otherwise, that day, my head will go all the wrong places. So I just know I got to stay with a long-term goal that I'm working at on a daily basis.
But there's not like any kind of routine, like, because
Like,
me, I
wake
like
up.
try to get up and go on a run.
Like a regimen, you mean like that?
Yeah, like a regiment.
There's not.
No?
No, not really. Just because everything I'm handling so many different things that they're all so different. What I have to do is just wake up and attack the goals that I need to get me to where I want to be at,
Right.
physically, mentally, financially, you know.
Yeah.
But I know I got a little bit off track there. But so the demo miraculously lands in the right hands,
Yeah.
and he calls you and signs you pretty much on the spot.
Well, no, he came to New York, and then I went to New
You're
York.
still in Atlanta at this point.
I was still in Atlanta. I worked at a guitar shop called Clark Music, and then he came to New York. I went to New York, and when he came to New York for, like, I guess my sort of audition. And by the way, mind you, I was like a bass player. Like, now all of a sudden now I'm acting like I'm a guy that sings with an acoustic guitar. I just started singing like 2 years prior to
Your
this.
first song you gave you.
So I was totally faking it. Like, in my head, I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I had imposter syndrome, and he brought Lou.
Explain that to people who know that as imposter
What
syndrome.
imposter syndrome is just like a thing. Like, if you, I don't know, get some sort of success in something and you feel like you have that deep self-doubt that you're legit, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Like you don't deserve to be there.
Yeah, it's a common thing.
I'd heard it mentioned actually on a podcast recently, and I got pretty deep into it, but I forgot kind of what it was. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So
No, you're all right. Where'd you hear about it?
I want to say it was on Rogan.
Yeah.
It might have been on, or it might have been on Michael Malice.
I don't know if I know that one.
Michael Malice, great podcast.
Really?
Yeah, super fascinating guy. He's really smart, an anarchist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and but he has like, it's not just like, okay, everybody go run in the streets and burn shit down, which is kind of what I think most people think of when they hear anarchy, myself included.
Right.
But he has just like it's almost like an extreme libertarian version where it's like everyone's responsible for their own shit. There's no government central like that everyone has to tie back to, and no taxes and no public utilities type of deal. Like everybody kind of does their own thing private. Super interesting. But
I'm gonna check it out.
yeah, it's cool, Michael Malice. But so now you go for your audition
Before he gets canceled.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
He's one of those people constantly walking the line of.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything super controversial. He's a gay guy. He's like, you should be on the right side of the team as far as intersectionality goes. He's checked some of the right boxes. He's a white guy, so I guess that works against him. But
if you say things against the agreed upon narrative, you're
putting
in
yourself
their
at
crosshairs.
risk.
Yeah. So anyway,
You're in
then
New
he brought Lou Reed to my.
That name I know.
Yeah, he brought Lou Reed to my audition, and that was kind of just overwhelming.
I was gonna say,
they're both heroes.
Can you be more nervous at this point?
No, it's crazy. And then, hey man, I put mine on airplane mode.
It's fucking people.
So, yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh,
So Lou Reed and
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel are now watching you play live.
yeah, and then so that went well, and then we went out to eat, and Dolly Parton was in the booth next to us. It was just really surreal.
I was gonna say that sounds like a fucking a fantasy for an 18-year-old kid.
It was weird. It was no, at this point I was like early 20s, but
Regardless.
yeah, it was crazy. And then I end up moving to England and recording some records over there.
Signed now though.
Signed, yeah.
Did they pay for that endeavor?
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, all of a sudden I was in a completely different
You look like you belong in England.
situation.
I can
yeah.
see you fucking.
I had fun. I loved London. I
sure
loved
you
living in London. I lived in South London in Streatham Common. I had a girlfriend in Notting Hill Gate, so I would like ride the tube, and I just spent a year in London just making music. It was a total dream come true.
Sounds amazing.
Really, really great. I mean, still good friends with the people I live with there, and yeah, it's great to be alive. That was also when you went to foreign countries, it really was like foreign. Like when I first went on tour in France, it was like there was no internet yet. You would go.
The culture's so separate.
It's completely different. It was really foreign, and you would go in your hotel room, and there's like 5 channels and one of them's hardcore pornography, like, but it's like not even affiliated with the hotel. It's just on their public television thing. Like,
Did you?
I mean, and all the channels are like just French speaking, and so you're just like, you're really a stranger in a strange land. I feel sorry for people now because they never can have that experience anymore, because
The culture's
no
so
matter
intertwined.
where you go, there your home entertainment system is right in the palm of your hand, and it's
true.
the same exact things you've been doing when you're over here as to
It's true.
over it sameifies everything. Whereas then it was like, man, that experience of being like, yeah, there's some boredom there. You have to like confront like this like bored, weird, isolated vibe. But when you're in that bored, weird, isolated vibe, that's when good poetry comes out. That's
100%.
when good shit comes. That's like why you got to reset your dopamine.
Which we talked about before.
You know, right?
The dopamine abuse is like the number one
Oh
problem,
my
I think. And I
God,
think
man.
that entertainment system you're referring to is the big problem. That's what
Yeah.
people don't realize. Like those hits of dopamine are deadening you. Like
Yeah.
it's making it very hard to get any kind of stimulus from other places.
That's why no FAP and no porn is a big deal.
It makes sense. No fap.
No FAP, no porn. It if you can handle it, it's
That's the first time, because I always see
it's not easy.
I always see those like anti-porn and anti-masturbation people, and they're all like hardcore right-leaning, usually conservative people. So I always thought it was like a religious angle. But then I never clicked on any of those kind of videos because I'm like,
No,
I'm just like, it's gonna be like some this is immoral, this is a sin.
No,
I don't
it's
like
not
hearing
that.
it. But yeah, but then I actually gave it some time and listened to, I believe it was Michael Knowles break it down, and he was just saying more or less how they do studies on it. It's not like it's not some kind of obscure science. Like it's some real shit that it has serious implications for your actual sex life too. Because you're not getting, for starters, most people, I'm sure, the females that they see when they are entertaining themselves their at home female probably doesn't add up in most scenarios, right? Nor do they.
Well, it's
You know what I
like,
mean?
like when
unless you have a foot
flipping
long.
through porn things, they're like essentially your subconscious doesn't know fact from fiction. So to your subconscious, whatever your porn session was that night, you just slept with like, 5,000 different people.
And like tens.
Yeah.
And then you go home
Like
to your wife and she's just not doing it for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're watching
Yeah.
Johnny Sins with a 2-foot dick, and then you got to go home and you're like, I'm just not
Hey.
adding up.
Hey.
You know what I mean? So I see how it psychologically how it could be a problem for people, but
Yeah, well, it's just spiking your endorphins. It's not a moral thing so much as it is just being
artificial.
smart with your endorphins and resetting your dopamine. And like, because the other thing is, if you can get on a good streak of like semen retention, no FAP and all that, suddenly, like, if you're like 90 days in or something, like just walking down the street and the wind blowing on your face becomes like almost a euphoric experience. Like, no shit.
It lowers like your sensual bar.
Because your brain needs to get dopamine and will get it. So if you give it to it with this junk food, essentially, that's like gonna spike your dopamine
fuck your
like
tolerance
crazy,
up, you're saying.
you're not gonna get it from anything like it. Then everything else will have this dull gray over it.
Makes sense.
Whereas if you never give yourself that, it sort of like the whole world gets layered with some dopamine.
I like that theory.
Right?
Makes sense.
That's the
On
vibe.
on the way here, you were saying that. What was that dopamine comparison you used before we were talking about?
Can't remember.
But you were saying the same thing, but the way you put it, it was like, oh, it was like a little light bulb went off for me. I'm like, okay, you're right. Like that, we have to worry kind of about how you get your dopamine and not making it too artificial.
It's just like a hack in a way.
Oh, smoking. That's what we were talking about before. Smoking.
Smoking weed?
Yeah, because you were like,
Oh,
because
right.
smoking
You're
weed
like, what's-
is like not
yeah.
it's the most harmless of all drugs, right? But at the same time, anything that gives you an easy,
dopamine.
it's not good for your overall
Right.
lifestyle. 'Cause
Right.
Now it makes getting that feeling too easy. Now you're not going to strive for it outside of that as hard as you may have had you not gotten it that easy.
Right. Just like being in France before the internet in a hotel room by yourself. What are you going to do? You better write a poem. But if you have like, oh, I got everything,
In the
every
world,
entertainment
yeah.
fucking thing I need.
Do you think that? So I was thinking about the other day. Do you think that we're going to have a real creativity shortage in the near future? Because creativity is born out of necessity,
And
right?
focus.
So this generation has got no focus and spoon fed everything. Like, do you think that we're going to see a real decline in the creative arts?
That's a good question. I think there's always like there's a lot, there's always a reaction and like just what we were talking about, like NoFap and stuff. There's like most of that community on YouTube is like young people, like early 20s that are talking about that. So it's like I feel like
That's
there's
a small percentage, you got to
yeah,
think.
no, it is, but there's a pushback. But people that do great things have always been a small percentage anyway. So as
True.
long as we have a few
True.
that keep their eye on the prize
I
and
just feel
like
like we're gonna miss out on some of the like. We're gonna have a lot of unrealized potential by people who
absolutely.
just
Oh,
never
that's for sure.
never reach that creative necessity because they're just so inundated with easy access to information and entertainment.
Yeah, and the more everybody like, the things that, we used to sort of like put a more esteem on individualism and like the sort of myth of like the outsider or the maverick or this that, was something that was kind of I feel like more championed a little bit back in the day. Now it's more like, we live in sort of
Groupthink.
cancel culture groupthink time, and so
Yeah.
I feel like that will have a negative effect on art. I feel like
Well, a lot of times, a lot of things that people are afraid to say. You know what I mean? I'm not even.
Yeah.
We don't even have to get into the political aspect of it, but as far as just thinking different than most people, like
Right.
it's hard enough, right? As a kid or even as a grown man, if you're kind of going, if you're the way you think is going against the grain, it was hard enough to kind of step up and be like, nah, I'm not with that. I like this. I don't
Right.
care what you think. That was hard enough for the whole of human history.
Right.
But now having ramifications as far as like, it's like pop-a-mole, you can get whacked down for
Right.
stepping up and saying like, I think differently. It's only going to stifle that even more. I feel like
Maybe, yeah. Well,
it's dangerous.
there's a historical precedent for this kind of momentum going into really dark places.
It's never gone to a good place.
No.
And isn't it amazing that the people who kind of are leading that charge, and if I had to guess, are probably every time it's happened in history, are probably the same thing. They've probably always thought they were the good guy. History will not look back on the people burning the books and silencing free speech as the good guys. Ever.
Right. Yeah, I saw a meme like that. Like, name me one time in history when the people that were
Doing the suppression.
burning books and silencing free speech were the good guys.
And it's like, because it escalates, right? So a lot of problems is like, that I see, it's basically, in my opinion, the fundamental problem with progressivism as an ideology, right? Is that in its own description, it's progressive, right? So it has to, in order to be doing anything, it has to keep moving. It needs to eat something. So it just moves the bar when it eats something. It doesn't say like, okay, if we get this accomplished, we're in utopia. It gets there and then it looks something else. That's why like a few years ago, Alex Jones gets banned and everyone's like, all right, whatever. Like he was kind of crazy anyway. I mean, he's right about a lot of shit, but then he's wrong about some conspiracy theories. And then all of a sudden, Dr. Seuss is banned.
I know.
And Mr. Potato Head's now genderless. And you're like, what happened? Like, how did we get here?
Right.
And that's scary because if, as crazy as this would have sounded 2 years ago, right? That we're here now, what sounds crazy now that in 2 years from now will be the reality? You have to always look like this is going to keep moving. Where are we going?
Yeah.
It's not stopping here. It's gaining speed, if anything. We're looking at a hockey stick.
Yeah, when the Alex Jones thing happened, I was shocked that there wasn't any pushback. That's what was shocking. It was no debate, like not even debating anything about it, like whether you like him or not. I was just shocked that there wasn't
But that part's
any
irrelevant, right?
There wasn't any pushback.
But shouldn't that part be irrelevant if you like him or not?
To me, it is, because I didn't really know much about him, and I remember I made a post when he first got, and I said something like, "Whatever happened to, I don't have to agree with what you say, but I'll defend to my death.
To the death, yeah.
Your right to say it." I thought that's what we were all doing over here.
And that was like the liberal cause, right?
That's what I thought, and then
The ACLU
yeah,
is now for suppressing people. Like,
Yeah.
I remember as a kid not being able to wrap my head around the fact. I remember in one of my classes, I'm assuming it was a social studies class, the teacher saying like, neo-Nazis have the right to assemble and like give like a speech in a park, whatever the hell it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, fuck them. Like, why would we ever give them, like, who cares? Like that. But the thing is, it's like, no, everybody has the right to, with those couple of, parameters, you can't directly call for violence or
Right.
smear, slander somebody. But if as long as they're within the rules, everybody has to be allowed. And I never understood that. But now over the last 5 years, I've seen why it's so important is because maybe we can all agree neo-Nazis are bad, but if you don't defend them, the next group might not be so clear cut. You know what I mean? Maybe the next group is at 80-20. 80 people think it's a bad thing, 20 people. And then all of a sudden you're in 70-30. And then all of a sudden you're banning people just for being the wrong political party.
Yeah. And the other disturbing part about the Dr. Seuss thing is like,
well, I missed the story. What was the problem?
I don't actually know like what the books are that they're banning. I'd have to look at them to
They said like there was like bad depictions of certain nationalities.
Not banning, but the publisher's not going to continue publishing them. But the thing is that's like, there's, people like Dr. Seuss don't come along. That's a genius level creator.
Once in a lifetime.
And so it's like when you start like wiping those type of things out, you just make everything more like gray and beige, and there's not,
You're a color guy. You want there to be some color in this world, and I agree with you.
Definitely. Like, and things like, I guess the Muppets are under attack too, right?
Oh, are they?
I heard that.
That's the problem comes when you can't tell. Like, I'll see a news article on Instagram, and you're in a scary time when you can't tell if it's satire or not.
Right.
It's gotten to the point where I don't know if it's a joke anymore. I have to Google it myself because things that are super ridiculous that are real, and then there's like Dr. Seuss. Like
I think
I
some
didn't
of
know
the
at
Dr.
first.
Seuss stuff actually that they've been posting as like examples of the racist thing was his attempt at satire against racism. I think some of that.
Yeah, from what I read, he was actually he was a big anti-racism proponent.
I don't know, and then I also heard that he sort of evolved his ideas. I have no idea, but I do know that we are living in spooky times in regards to censorship. Interesting times indeed.
Shout out Beck Lover.
Shout out Beck Lover. Go follow him on Clubhouse. That's where he always is.
Yeah, that's his new home. He pays rent on Clubhouse.
What do you think about Clubhouse being like a podcast going on? Well, we don't have to talk about Clubhouse, but like,
no, yeah, we can talk about it.
It's like It's like, I actually like it, but it's like, what do you think is going to happen to podcasts in light of things like Clubhouse? Because it's almost like an active podcast going on 24/7 and all,
Yeah. So I'd like to, if I could get it bust into the Clubhouse realm, it would be to do kind of what we're doing here.
Right.
To have a conversation like that. I don't personally get enjoyment out of hearing the conversations as much as some people seem to. I'm a visual guy. Like I like video. So just like listening to somebody is kind of like, I don't know, it's much harder to hold my attention with just audio.
Yeah.
So for me, it hasn't really grabbed a hold of me yet. Maybe I haven't gotten in the right room. I'm open to being changed about it.
Yeah, they're going to have the visual component in no time whatsoever.
I'm surprised they don't already.
Yeah.
But I guess then you have everybody in the room. I don't know how that would work. I guess whoever speaking could just be on like a Zoom call.
Yeah, it's great for learning. Like the NFT world is like really blooming and blossoming inside that space. Yeah, I noticed that all of us say things like that space, like because there is all these spaces. So now we have to identify the virtual dimensions in this space, in that space. It's like everything is space.
Before I get to, because the NFTs I want to talk to you about for sure. Because that's something we've been talking about.
That was what do you call it when you veer into something?
Yeah, it's like a tangent.
I was making a shift. I don't know.
But
into a new space.
I'm just super fascinated because as much as we've spoken, I don't really know your story, and I'm like I wanted to learn it. While I was doing this, I don't do research before the shows. I want to actually learn for real when we're talking. Like, I don't want to have to pretend to ask you questions that I know the answer to.
Yeah.
So like, I kind of wanted to know, like, how do we get the man that I know today? So like telling your story up to the point where we're at now, you had just gotten a deal and now you're in London. Did you get that when you got signed? Were you signed as an individual artist or they plugged you into a band?
No, as an individual artist, solo artist. I was the first American, like, there might have been one other one, but I signed to a world music label. So it was like mostly like musicians from all over the world. So when I first went over to London or to England or to Bath, where the studio is in Box, actually, right outside of Bath, there was this thing called Recording Week, and there was like families from like India and Africa and like old rock stars like Iggy Pop came through and Joe Strummer and all these people in the studio for like 2 weeks, and I basically lived there. So I went from like working minimum wage at a guitar shop to suddenly I'm like in this in like
With music
state of
royalty.
the art, like with music royalty, and like also not only that, like just from all over the world and collaborating. And I'm writing with like I was writing with Peter Gabriel, and it was and you know Brian Eno sang on my first record. It's just crazy. It was like yeah, I need to like write a book or something because it was
For sure.
I feel blessed to have been given that in this life.
Those experiences.
Yeah.
So how long you stay in England?
So I ended up living there for like a year, but like I remember like I basically like was in that studio living in the studio for a minute, and then when recording week ended, I just kept staying there, and then they were like, "Hey man," and I was there for like 3 days after still, and no one else was there anymore, and they were like, "Dude, you can't live here." I was like, "Oh, okay," because I was just like, but I met somebody at that recording week, my good friend Graham, and he lived in London, which was like 2 hours away, and I was like, "Hey man, I got to go out of the studio. Can I come like stay on your couch for a bit?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." And then I ended up living in his place for like a year
In England.
in England.
So now you're another year there.
Yeah. So I was there for a year.
Are you still on the label's dime at this point?
Well, yeah, they gave me an advance and all that. So yeah, I had money.
So 2 years in England, and you come back to the States?
No, it was like 1 year.
Okay.
1 year. Then I came back. Then I came back to New York. Yeah, this whole thing started as like, how long you been in New York? So then I was in New York, and that's where I've been ever since.
What year is that?
I guess like 97 or 98, maybe.
So you've been in New York for since late 90s.
98. That's since the late
Almost
90s.
25 years.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
where does your career go from there? Now you get your first deal. You're having some success in London.
Well, I had success in France. That was like my best place.
Really?
Yeah. Like for some reason, my album.
Or like going live there or selling your albums there?
It just went really well. My first album was kind of like a.
Hard copies, I'm saying.
Yeah, like an indie kind of hit there. So
Sick.
all of a sudden, I'm touring there, and there's like I'm packing clubs and stuff like that,
Sick.
just playing by myself. You know,
Crazy.
I started doing the looping thing. I was like one of the first like folk artists to do that whole thing.
What does that feel like going somewhere that you know nobody, but everybody knows you?
It was amazing, man. I remember the first time, like the first show I played in France after my record came out. It was like this in store, and all of a sudden there was just like all these people waiting in line to come in, and I was like, what, how is this, how is this happening?
And I guess pre-internet, like it is
yeah,
now,
no
they're not
internet.
so
It's just based on radio and magazines.
yeah, they're not like so knowledgeable about you, but they still know what you look like. And when you walk by, like there he is, or is it
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
it must be super interesting to have people like recognize you, that you don't like strangers in a different country that are like there for you.
Yeah, and it goes to your head. It's weird. It's
How
like,
could it not?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And then, but the album came out over there first, and then it came out in the States like 3 or 5 or something months later, and crickets, dude.
Really?
Didn't do. So I had this strange experience of being like, because when it first was in France, I was like, oh man, I guess I'm gonna be a rock star now. Like
This is gonna translate to
this
America.
is a rap. Like, oh, I see how this is going.
See you guys later.
Okay, see y'all later. Been nice knowing you. Know?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I go back to America, and it's like I'm playing in front of 3 people in Alabama. You know,
Yeah.
like, and 2 of them aren't listening. You know, it was like just so wild to like, you know, like have them that experience.
It seems like the music.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, who knows? I had one opportunity. This is one of those regrets where like the head of the label at the time, Nancy Berry, shout out Nancy Berry, who I'm still friends with. And, you know, it's so funny the different lives we live, because she was this big, huge head of Virgin Records. because I was on Virgin ultimately through Peter Gabriel's label. And, now she's an amazing photographer. She's just got a whole different existence. It's just so funny. Never give up, because life can just change and keeps evolving. But so she introduced me to this guy, Glenn Ballard, at a party, and Glenn Ballard worked with Alanis Morissette and co-wrote all those hit songs. And he had heard my first record, and he was
The
like,
same infamous cassette that Peter Gabriel.
no,
signed
this
in.
was by the time it was a record. And he goes,
Okay.
He goes, I really like your record, but there's no preview to the movie, meaning you don't have a single. And she was trying to set me up to write with him, the guy that just sold 14 million records with Alanis Morissette. And I was like, and this is like one of those regrets of dumb youth, but I was like, I'm good.
Why? Like, you thought you
I'm
didn't?
like, I'm good. I like my album the way it is. Like, and then fast forward to 3 people in Alabama.
Shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'm kind of like, adding on to that story in some degree, because who knows what would have happened or what. And I'm like throwing myself under the bus, because I was really sticking up for the integrity of this artistic statement I had made with
You wanted it to be authentically yours.
the producer Marcus Dravs. But hindsight being 2020, knowing what I know now,
that's the business move.
I would have handled that situation differently.
Yeah.
I would have gone ahead and,
Done whatever he said.
well, no, I would have written a song with him though, and explored it. But when you're young, you're so impatient too. I was like, no, I just want to get this album out. Let's work on something else later. That's the other thing too. I wasn't like saying no forever. I was just like, no, I'm already over this one. As an artist, you want to an artist is like a shark. You just got to keep going forward.
So you were already over the old project. You wanted to create something new.
Right.
So how do you bounce back from that? It seems like the music industry is one of those things where the ups and downs are kind of fucking drastic.
It's crazy. And at that point too, it's like I had no, like, once the album tanked like that in America, I wasn't dropped, but your stock goes way down.
But do they hold on to like thinking like, okay, well, he did good in France, so that's gonna probably recreate that.
Yeah. No, they built with me, so they never really dropped me. But like, then on the second record, T-Bone Burnett, I wrote this song called "In the Sun," and that was kind of like my most popular song. And T-Bone Burnett heard it, who's a famous producer, and he wanted to work with me. And so all of a sudden,
You're back.
My bell rang again, and it was like, then Virgin threw a lot of money at it and all this, and
What's
so
the
I made
time lapse there?
that's when I was in LA, and I made this like expensive LA record, So
But how long is that
that's
lull
like
in between?
late 90s.
No, I'm saying like, okay, so you come back as crickets in Alabama, your bell rings again. How long is that canyon in between?
Good question. That's like long.
Like how long?
Long, like probably a year, like where you don't know
What the fuck's going through your head at that point?
Oh man,
rethinking
like
everything,
suicidal ideation, like
ready to call. Yeah,
not really, but lost.
Yeah.
And like depression, and also like when you're in your mid 20s, you're subject to so much more emotional upheaval, I feel like, in a way.
Yeah,
at least I was.
I could definitely relate to that.
Yeah, so no, that was crazy. And then, but you keep writing, and you just keep moving. I mean, it's the same as it ever was, same as it is now.
Are you still performing though at that point? Or you're just in the studio?
Probably not much. Like, just there wasn't like active touring going on.
Yeah. So how do you? And that's the other problem too. We said before, not keeping yourself busy.
Yeah.
With touring or with
But still, at the same time, like, still living in this massively privileged way. Peter Gabriel let me stay in his penthouse in New York, in NYC in Chelsea.
So he must have still liked you. You still?
Oh, he loved me. Yeah, I consider him family.
That's awesome.
I love him.
Thank God for him.
To this day. Oh yeah, he's changed my life.
I was gonna say, it sounds like he changed the course of your entire life.
It definitely did. Yeah.
So you make it out of that year.
And the first single I ever bought was called "Shock the Monkey" by Peter Gabriel when I was a kid. Just thought of that. Like, how funny is that title?
Came full circle. Though,
Shocked the monkey. He really shocked me as a monkey.
That's funny.
That's so stupid.
This guy sounds like he's.
You got to investigate him. I'm gonna play you some on our ride back.
Yeah,
he's amazing. I mean, unbelievably great.
Interesting. So you make it out of that year. You get through that, and I know those periods of darkness feel like 10 years if it was a year, because those days move slower when you're rethinking your entire existence as far as what am I going to do next? Is this going to work again? Do I have another shot at this? All those doubts you're talking about.
Yeah, and there's not like this rhetoric back then that there is now, where there's all this like modes of self-healing and self-help and all these YouTube channels of like, for instance, no FAP or this, that, and the other. There's all these modalities being discussed all the time about how to elevate yourself. Back then, there was none of that. There was the rock and roll myth of like ODing when you're 27 is cool. Like, not really cool, but there's that
glorification of
kind of glorification still alive. And so it was just different times. It was like really so different.
And you're in your mid-20s, you said?
Yeah.
And you're lost, and you have so how did you get to the next song when the bell was rang again? That was a song that you created that you give to the label. Like, how's that happen? How's that process work back then?
I made more demo tapes and then gave it to my friend Yves Beauvais, who's this French guy who was an A&R guy at Atlantic Records, who became a fan of my first record because he was French and the French liked it. And then he sent that tape to T-Bone Burnett, and T-Bone Burnett called him. It was a similar thing to the Peter Gabriel thing. It just
aren't you still signed to this point?
It kind of happened again. Yeah, but T-Bone was a producer, so it could work together with the label.
So even though you're signed at that point to a different label, you're still shopping around.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like,
how's that work in the music industry? I'm honestly, I have no idea. At least back then. I'm sure it's all upside down now.
Because you have to find your way through. Like, you have to kind of adapt and adjust. I got in some trouble with that. Like, at one point, me and Peter had a little bit of a falling out over something like that. But it just became like, you have to find different lanes. If lanes closed, you have to open up other lanes, and that was me opening up other lanes, and it worked.
And did you get signed to Atlantic now?
No, just made friends through, like, I was friends with Yves, so he worked at Atlantic. He was an A&R guy there for 17 years or something absurdly long. Great guy. And now he he refurbishes old like amplifiers, and he's just like, again, another whole life has evolved for him.
Crazy.
So interesting. Yeah. And but so yeah, T-Bone came in like a white knight or like an angel, or
And did what with you? You did a new record with him?
We made a couple records. Yeah, we made this one called "Come to Where I'm From," which is now the name of my podcast.
Oh shit, that's where it came from.
Yeah.
And now did you start touring in the United States?
Yeah, that one did well in the United States. That got Album of the Year in Entertainment Weekly.
Wow.
Yeah. So then, it did really well, and it did well in France too.
The French love you, huh?
Yeah, the French love me. They saved me.
That's so fucking crazy.
They like weirdos. They like intense, artistic weirdos.
I can see that.
I fit right in. They love it. Plus, I have a French name, Joseph Arthur. Joseph Arthur.
You been back there?
Not in a long time.
What the hell are you doing? That's like your fucking.
I know. I can't wait.
How would you there? I'd be twice a year.
Are you gonna get the vaccine?
Not unless I have to.
That's the thing. I think like you're gonna have to if you want to fly.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully this craze dies out before it gets to that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to get into it. I don't even want to fucking
right.
flag this.
Sorry to get.
You said the V word.
Sorry to flag us. Yeah, let's edit that out.
So now.
But I brought it up because going to France, it's like I can't wait to start touring again and all that. Like the things that we just take for granted. My manager just called me up today and was like, "Hey, you want to play in City Winery? They're booking shows." Like, so
for how far out?
I think we're gonna book a show in April.
Okay, so maybe we're getting some semblance of normalcy back this spring and summer.
Yeah, it's like 100 capacity cap on it, but it's like starting to
I think
get.
that if we ever do go back to normal, it'll happen fast. Like it'll be something where they're opening up, and then all of a sudden the sky doesn't fall, and then like some states will just have it. Like some of the South states are already going for it. They're just going for it. And as long as they're not like so overwhelmed that they have to shut down life again, like their hospitals are overwhelmed and there's bodies pounding up in the streets, and everyone kind
Right.
of sees like, okay, like it's bad, but it's not like we don't have to shut down the whole world for it.
Yeah.
I think once that model proof of concept works,
Right.
it'll just be dominoes and the whole country will open up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and everybody will get vaccinated and all that. So Texas is completely open now,
I think
right?
so.
Yeah.
Well, it's now they're leaving it up to the individual. So like you can still mandate masks in your place. I'm not saying you can't wear a mask. They're just saying you don't have to, which I
Right.
think is the best way to go about it. Everybody, sovereignty, right? Like everybody do what they want as long as you don't affect
I'm
somebody
a
else.
fan of it.
Yeah, I feel like with all the hyper polarization of everything right now, right? It's like teams, like something comes out, throw a fucking topic at the wall. You're forced to pick right or left, or black or white, or whatever it is. You're forced onto sides. There's no nuance. There's no down in the middle. It's just you pick one side or the other, and you have to pick fast. And then no matter what happens, no matter what evidence comes out to reverse
it's like an emotional demonizing that takes place against either side.
Yeah,
And it's
the
like
moral high ground is just like absurd.
it's like on both sides too with that, and so it's like nuanced conversation is something that we should really try to bring back into style
For real. And that's why I like podcasts, because you get these long form conversations where you can express an idea. It's not a sound bite. It's not like a quick 1-word answer. It's let's explore this.
Right.
Things are complicated. Nothing in life is so black and white that you could just put things into two bins. Right. So like let's actually analyze this and let's talk about it and let's find something in the middle that makes everybody not happy. That's never gonna happen, but at least lets people go about their lives. So like I think that the libertarian mindset of like individual sovereignty, let everybody decide what they want to do what you want to do with your life as long as you don't affect anybody else negatively. That's more important than ever. Like we're so connected in so many ways now. We're so in front of people's faces now that you have to have individual freedoms like that. Like we're connected all day long by phone, by social media. We're hearing what everybody think. It's the world's always been this crazy. You just see it now. Like I get to hear and see everybody's crazy ass thoughts all day long, which you'd only people in earshot of you would hear.
Right.
And now you have a thought, you put it on, and 8,000 people see it by the end of the day. It's unnatural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's just a lot of things are just in our face more than the world's like falling apart.
Are you thinking about ever moving anywhere? Have you like
physically, like getting out of New York?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, as soon as possible.
Really?
Yeah. Second, I'm dealing with some situations right now that have to be resolved before I can leave. The second they are, I'm the fuck out of here.
Where are you gonna go?
Florida.
Really? Miami
or the greater Miami area, like somewhere between. You familiar with Florida?
Not that much.
Somewhere between Boca and Miami, or one of the two. Like anywhere in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Boca, Miami, downtown Miami. So somewhere in that 45-minute window.
Yeah,
they've got it figured out, man. That's like, and that's like someone asked me like, why are you moving? And I'm like, I can't even explain this, but let's put it this way: taxes.
Right.
There are none, state income.
Right.
So if you make a decent amount of money in New York, you can basically get a free place to stay down there. Like if your job is remote, if you're online, if you make 6 figures, your place that you live can basically be free to an extent. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If let's say, let's do the basic math. Like, what's state income tax in New York? But if you have the city added on top of that, it's like it's an easy 10%. It could be more than that though. If you're making, let's say, $250,000 a year, if you have a good job like that, you're making $250,000. That $25,000 you save can literally be a $2,000 a month apartment paid for just from the fact that you're not paying a state income tax anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So you got that. You have the weather, the obvious.
I do like the weather. I like the ocean.
The quality of life, man. I mean, just to be able to go out, like the New York winters are so bad.
Yeah.
They really are terrible. And then the politics. I'm not a Republican by any means, but I just like what DeSantis is doing down there way more than what Cuomo is doing up here.
Yeah, I think they're gonna impeach Cuomo, right? Is that?
I mean, apparently, I think he has like 11 more sexual harassment claims, and then they're gonna act on it. They wanted 27 women to come forward, and then they were gonna. I'm exaggerating, but like it's the lady literally said for someone in one of the Democratic Congress people said after 3 people came out, if one more comes out,
right?
You need 4. Even though
Right.
personally, I don't think what he did was that fucking crazy.
Right.
I think he was just like a creepy old perv, like hitting on
What did
girls
he
and
do?
just inappropriate, like touching. Not like he grabbed an ass, like maybe
he
making you feel
grabbed the head
uncomfortable.
or something? I
Yeah.
saw one picture like
He asked the
that.
lady if you wanted to play strip poker, like just making suggestive shit, but he didn't like assault anybody. You know what I mean?
That's wild.
We got to kind of learn to differentiate.
Yeah.
You can't just lump everybody into a predator category.
Right.
Otherwise, it dilutes the real rapist.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
So New York is a fucking cesspool. So I'd love to get to Florida. How about you? You trying to get out of here?
I almost did. I was 2 years ago. I went to Todos Santos, Mexico, which I just love. I love it there. And
Shot.
sure, yeah,
Tap the sauce. Not really much left, but
yeah. And I ended up staying there for like 3.5 months, and I rented an
You speak
apartment.
Spanish?
No,
How the fuck? So you just
just
getting by?
Getting by.
Do enough people speak English, or you're just fucking winging it?
And there's a great community there and everything. And I got an apartment there, and I came back to New York, and I was just gonna like handle my business and move straight back out there.
Sucked back in.
I got sucked back in from my
Happens
podcast.
every time. Oh, okay. So you had a good reason. At least.
Ehud, my co-host, was like, "Yo, let's do a podcast," and he films it and edits it and books it, and it's just like a great opportunity for me to just like work on that dream.
Well, you were also considering the road life.
Oh yeah, and I was gonna do that too.
What are
Yeah,
those things called again?
RV.
No, it was like that. The one in particular, that version that you
Oh,
wanted.
Airstream.
Airstream, that's
Yeah.
right. You are made for an Airstream. You
Yeah.
should be the fucking logo they put on the side of an Airstream.
Well, man, when these cryptos move, I'm gonna get one. So so I stayed for the podcast, and it's been, I don't know, we're like 117 episodes in right
Amazing.
now. We've been consistent with
One a
it.
week, right? Consistently, pretty much.
Yeah, we started with 2 a week, and then we kind of moved to
aggressive.
1 a week. We got 2 this week coming up, Wednesday and
awesome.
Thursday. Yeah, so it's cool. I enjoy it. But I definitely always have my head a little bit in Mexico, so I think I would go there. Maybe.
Really?
Yeah, I just love it there.
It scares me that like the instability of Mexico. It's a country
Right.
that seems like it's legitimately ran by cartels.
Mm.
So that seems a little
And how's
volatile.
that different from America?
True. That is a good point. I guess I prefer, maybe it's just my what I'm used to. I prefer American pharmaceutical cartels over
Right.
I guess they're pharmaceutical cartels to an extent too, right?
Yeah.
Just street pharmacies.
Well, it's really, this place has this spiritual essence. I
What part is it called again?
It's called Todos Santos.
It's on the water.
It's Baja. It's like it's basically 40 minutes away from Cabo.
Okay, I've only been to Mexico once or twice, and I'm not like very familiar with what areas. But I went like I went like the touristy spots, like Cancun or whatever.
Yeah. So this is a specific sort of energy that I'm attracted to and drawn to down there. So
It's like a beach like
Yeah.
community.
yeah, it's surfing, but it's
you a surfer?
I try. I get up some here and
You
there.
enjoy it though.
I love trying.
I never tried that.
That'd be one of the things. I would just go down there, make NFTs, and I'm giving you a segue. I'd go down there.
So the NFTs, here we are. That's funny.
Go down there, make NFTs, and just like stack ETH.
So, so for those who don't know, and let's just start off by saying I really don't fucking know either.
Non-fungible tokens.
Yeah, that much I know. So NFT stands for non-fungible token, and basically it's an extension of this cryptocurrency, blockchain technology time period that we're in now, where it's, from what I understand, basically a digital representation of either a real life item or something that literally only exists in the digital space. But it's like it's like ownership. So
Right.
I can, for example, take something I have in the real world. I can take an expensive piece of memorabilia or art and represent it in the blockchain, and you can own it by having its NFT representative, more or less. Or you can have an NFT of something that only exists in the space. So like you create digital art. Joe is a very talented artist. He's a painter, but he also, I guess, makes the digital art now, which look very similar to his actual paintings, and he can sell when he didn't launch it yet. You said, right?
Haven't minted one yet.
But when he does, he can basically sell them online, and it'll be a one-of-one verified ownership through the blockchain, and you can own that digital art. And you would not believe what the money that these pieces are going for. Oh, they're selling like NBA highlights. They're selling and the money is outrageous. Obviously, a little bit of a bubble we're in right now, but I think that's something that's going to be here to stay for long term.
It's gonna change things for artists in general. I mean,
The world, yeah, it's going to change.
for the world, but like artists, can now sort of buck the starving artist myth. It's like,
How do you how so?
well, it's adding a whole other layer of value on everything. Like, so for instance, if I make a painting, that painting, okay, I could sell that.
This is a real life painting, right? Physical
Real life
Okay.
painting. Then I could take a picture of that and create an NFT around that, and then that becomes another stream of value that, like you said, is quite successful for a lot of people. So, and the same thing with like music. You can, like, the first ever guy that did it was Blau. He made like $11.7 million on an album
Christ.
that was already 3 years old. Now, he did a lot of networking in that space for like a long time, and so he got to know a lot of the collectors.
Results may vary.
Yeah, results will vary.
Yeah, that's everything in life, though.
I think Kings of Leon just did it, and they're actually a really big band, much bigger than Blau is, and I think they're struggling a little bit more with it. So, and then you'll see like a Crypto Kitty thing. It sells for 600 grand, and it's like
That's the fad.
like
bubble
sort of
stuff.
8-bit thing, and then other people will make cool digital art, and it'll go unnoticed. So it's like anything else. It's not a fix all, but it adds a whole other layer of value on everything, because people like to collect, and it's scratches that itch. It's perfect for that, because you could collect things in your wallet. So it's like it's just about going more and more into the metaverse. Like people don't want to have to take care of a bunch of stuff. It's easier for collectors to have it on their phone. They can trade it as an asset. You can do anything you want with a non-fungible token. You can make it like an edition of 7 even, or like you can make it an open edition and put a time limit on it. And so however many you sell, and then that's that,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of, I mean, that's the thing I do. I go on Clubhouse and go to the NFT tips room and learn.
So now, two things about the NFT thing, the space. One is my confusion as to what is the intrinsic value. I guess it's 0, but like, let's just say for a digital art piece, right? Like, what's the difference between owning the NFT and then me saving it as a JPEG on my fucking computer?
It's similar to like you could have something, you could have the Mona Lisa in your place, but it's not the real Mona Lisa. You can go buy a sort of knockoff of the Mona Lisa, so
a print or whatever. But
right,
like,
so the JPEG is the same thing. It's like a knockoff, but the ownership is something you own. So it's like, say so there's
I see what you're saying.
So there's an artist named Beeple, who's like the biggest digital artist. One of his pieces sold for $6.6 million recently, right? So if you back the right artist, okay, so
but what do you do with it?
So
it's just clearly a possession.
It's an asset,
but you can't like show it to anybody.
It's an asset.
Interesting.
It's an asset. You're like, it's currency.
I was just shocked people put that much value in it.
Okay, so one of the piece that went for 6.6 million, the Beeple piece. Originally, Beeple sold it for 60K or 66K or something like that. And then that collector turned around and sold it for 6.6 million. So
it's a nice flip.
So in his case, look at that flip. So that's the value.
1,000x.
You're basically turning it into a currency. So yeah, any of us can see that piece, and any of us could conceivably like own that aspect of it as much as anyone else. But
he owns
the thing that represents
real one.
real ownership of that. And that's the thing that's kind of a little bit of a leap for people to get their head around. But once you do, it actually makes a lot of sense, and it actually kind of is a much more sort of
advanced
way of collecting.
To push back on that though, two things. One is like when it goes in the art space, like art is meant to be seen, right?
Yeah, but
like,
there's plenty of ways to display that kind of art. There's things called infinite objects. They're making all kinds of like cool new screens for you to present digital artwork.
so you think
like
when you go to someone's house in
and
10
it's
years,
it's not even too expensive. These
I'm
things
saying, like,
already exist.
let's say 10 years from now, 2031, we walk into someone's house and on the wall they have a TV screen that's playing, it's showing digital art.
It won't look like a TV screen though. It'll look cooler. It'll look like, oh, that's art.
Whatever it is though,
yeah.
that's not the point I'm getting at. So like, let's just say it's a hologram, right? It looks sick.
Right.
But when you walk in, you're gonna be like, "Oh, that's not a real bleeper piece." You know what I mean? That's a fake bleeper piece. Like that's a print. That's a knockoff. Like that's gonna be a thing. Like people like, because art, a lot of it is what the aesthetic value of it is.
But it's also just you know how people are. They like to flex. So it's kind of like if you walk in, it's the thing.
He's
like
an original NFT from
If you
Beeple.
walk in and it's like you see the Beeple up there and it's like homie owns it.
Oh, he's got the real Beeple.
Versus you go to your friend's crib and he printed it out on and he's got it, a Samsung smart TV with a Beeple on it. You're like, you don't own that. You just know. You're right.
3 real Beeples.
You're right. Ostensibly, it's like doesn't really make sense on some level.
It's a perspective change. Once it flips though, the whole world will be different.
Yeah. Well, and talk about the whole world. They're like also NFTizing like the whole world. It's called the super world, and people are buying plots of land like in Florida or whatever. Yeah.
Have you been? So what's the place we just called it? What was it?
Super world.
Is that another universe?
It's like a layer of value over the whole world.
Oh, it's like
so you
augmented
can buy,
reality,
like plots of land. I guess this is all coming from the fact that more and more we're living in our phone, and so
we're in that space.
So we're in that space, and in that space, you also want to have collections, and the more we go into virtual reality, you'll be able to like create a virtual home, and then in that virtual home, you'll be able to hang your virtual art, and you'll be able to have sex with your virtual girlfriend.
So in 10 years' time, maybe that timeline's off, but eventually you're gonna get to a point where the things that you own in your virtual life are gonna be more important than your real life. Eventually,
we're almost there.
So now, like, because
I think a lot of people are already definitely there.
So okay, so here's how we draw that comparison, right? Like, how many friends you have in real life in 2021 is a lot less relevant than how many people follow you on Instagram.
Right.
So in a sense, you've already bought into it. Now, take it a step further. Now, let's say you play Grand Theft Auto on your house, your computer, your video game guy. When you log into your account, you have a house in that, you have cars. We're just bringing that to the mainstream now, and that collection is going to matter more. The question is, whose universe matters, quote unquote matters.
Yeah.
What is the
God's universe?
You know,
no, you're like
bro. What do they buy into? Which universe is it? Which universe is the demand going to be for everyone to have that plot of land? There's going to be one, and that one's going to be worth a lot of money. They're flipping real estate already in these lands.
That's wild.
The Central land is crazy. I was looking into it, and you can go in there, and I can go meet my buddy. We can go to a casino and gamble and get paid in crypto.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? It's terrible. Amazing. It's terrible graphics though.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
We're in the infancy stages.
I was just about to say that. Imagine when virtual reality gets to the place, and it will, where you cannot distinguish it. Dude, and that's the simulation theory that Elon Musk talks about.
And then
that's
just
like
maybe that's what we're already in.
Because we are already in it. The idea that we're not already in that is impossible if that's going to exist, or it's billions of chances that this isn't already a simulation.
That's a fucking
according to
people much smarter than us.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, I fuck with Elon Musk. I'll take his theories.
Yeah.
So, are you gonna buy land in virtual world?
I mean,
it's like knowing about Bitcoin earlier on, right? It's worth throwing a couple bucks at it and just say, hey, we'll see what happens.
Like I wouldn't say no to any of this. Like I'm
if it's finite, why not?
Yeah, and if I get a good tip on an NFT that I could potentially flip or something like that, or even if just to support other artists as well.
So a good friend of mine, Will, just started his own. He's a partner in a new crypto they just came out with. They dropped their own coin. That's called Eternity, and they are doing that around NFTs. Like the guy Boss Logic, the graphic artist.
Sounds familiar.
Sick fucking digital artist online. He released the first piece they released on their like grand opening was a virtual piece from him, and it went for like decent money. Now they're doing another one. It had like Bruce Buffer virtually announcing it, like let's get ready to rumble type of guy. Oh, he's the UFC version, so he's like it's time. The guy with the gray hair and the fucking suit at the beginning of the fight.
Yeah.
He did the announcement, like everything matters more now what goes on in this virtual fucking world.
Yeah, people are like NFTizing tweets. You hear about that?
The first tweet ever, right?
First
Jack
tweet
sold
ever.
it. The guy
Smart.
himself, yeah, I probably went for big
Like,
fucking money.
Yeah.
Things are worth what people will pay for them, right?
Yeah, people like to collect. It's like, it's the Pokemon thing.
Pokemon's back. These cards are going for millions of dollars, these original ones from 99.
Logan Paul, he's on it.
Yeah, he's in the he's had his pulse on everything.
He's on it,
Fucking guy. Everything works out for that guy.
Well, do you watch his podcast?
Yes, sometimes.
I like it.
I'm not like every episode, but I've watched a great amount of them.
Good energy. When I look at it and go like, okay, why is this so successful? It makes sense. On one level, it's like, oh, it's Logan Paul, and he's a big fan.
He's much different than you think when you actually give him some time.
But they bring a lot of really good energy. They do a lot right.
And he's humble.
Yeah.
He's a humble kid. Like I thought he was gonna be like a cocky dick.
Yeah.
And he's really not.
Cool. He's from Ohio.
Yeah, he seems like a down to earth kid.
We're good people from Ohio.
Yeah.
Man.
His brother seems like a little bit of a lunatic. But
yeah, but in a good way.
I mean, listen,
they're entertaining. Let's put it that way.
No, but he's fucking he's making the most of it. Like he's fighting. They're both fighting. I think Logan's fighting Floyd Mayweather.
He definitely is.
The fact that he pulled that off is genius. Jake Paul fighting Ben Askren, who not only is a genius to make money off of, but is the best. He picked the best fighter possible. Ben Askren I think, is going to win.
Right.
And then even though people who don't know UFC and MMA and they don't understand how Ben Askren's not a striker, when he can put on his resume that he beat a UFC fighter, it's going to make him just propel him to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And actually a good friend of mine, shout out Shamir from Shadow Group, is doing his full-time security detail right now.
Wild.
Yeah, because his life is now like, he's talked shit to so many people and that he can't just like walk around regular anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I mean, not that he's under like constant threat, but he is. And, people, he's one of those people that people don't like.
Yeah.
They don't like his attitude. People would want to say something to him, start something with him.
They love to hate him.
Yeah.
He's one of those.
He's easily hateable. I'm sure he knows that.
He leans into it.
Yeah, and he's making the most of it. He's making
Fair
millions.
play to those guys, man. I guess Logan Paul's moving to where? I don't know.
Out of California?
A tax haven.
Bro, I
Which
mean,
one?
at what point do these
island,
people...
I can't remember.
An island, you said?
Yeah, he's moving.
Puerto Rico?
Yeah. I
Quite
think
smart.
So.
Peter Schiff was the first guy to really make that popular because there's no state or federal income tax in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
There's some kind of tax, but it's like very, very small. So if you have at all a way to do, that's not a bad place to live either. Yeah. I mean, you'll save, he's probably making, tens of millions a year too. So he's going to save millions and millions of dollars. He can, like I said, buy a mansion there with the money he's saving.
Yeah.
So why the fuck not? That's like the guy, one of the artists, the piece that I have, Alec Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in Puerto Rico full time because.
Oh really?
Taxes.
Have you ever been
to Puerto Rico? Or yeah. That was all right.
I need to go.
It just reminds me of like an extension of Florida. It doesn't feel foreign at all. I guess it's technically the U.S., but like it doesn't seem. I guess they've been so long under the rule of America and whoever else that
right.
It's like very regular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to get out there.
Never been?
Never.
It's nice. It's nice. I mean, any place in the fucking islands and over there in the Caribbean or whatnot. And like,
I know I could do that. I'm ready for that.
Full time, you mean?
Yeah, I could.
Puerto Rico's not a bad option then.
I wasn't so damn ambitious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do love New York though, and I
2 months a year.
Nah, I just love the energy of it. Even now, even now, I feel the energy of it. You
think?
I do. I know that's
foreign.
Weird. I know that's weird for people, but I think so much of what I get from it is just, is just the energy of the street and like the way it the way you operate in New York. Like I like riding my bike over the bridge and this, that, just
But doesn't it feel different?
I like moving that way.
Doesn't it feel different this last year?
Oh, of course. I mean, the whole world has done a dramatic shift,
My personal theory is that we've taken New York for granted in the sense that there's nothing mystical about the land that is Manhattan. You know what I mean? It's the people. The people are what makes New York. That's where that energy comes from. Is the the lifestyle, the hard nosed, action packed place. But that comes from the people. And when the people leave, that magic leaves with it. And I think especially the politicians, they took it for granted that New York's always going to be New York. California's always going to be California. It's like, no, like when those people leave, that place no longer, we're living off of our pastime and think it's going to float us forever. They remind me like the kid.
It'll come back.
Who's
though.
like,
It'll come back with a force.
I hope so. I hope so, man.
I'm sure of it.
When are they going to wisen up to this experiment that's going on? Everyone's leaving for the same reasons.
Yeah.
And you keep doubling down on the reasons why people are leaving. And like, you got to give them a reason to stay here.
Like cut some of the taxes, you mean?
Hello.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are not, it's not a mystery. People are saying it out loud on their way out the door.
Right.
On display for millions of people to hear. Every guy, when Rogan left,
That's true.
Like Ben Shapiro, when these guys leave, they announce it. We can't deal with this anymore. This overbearing government who overtaxes us. It becomes a no-brainer at one point. And you can't give people such an easy way to just transform that. Especially now that, like you said, everything's in a digital space. Where you reside at physically means less and less.
Yeah.
It's dangerous when you give people such an easy option to go 2-hour flight away and have their life completely better.
You're not lying.
Yeah, so like I don't know what's gonna happen here.
Something about New York though, it's hard to leave.
And nostalgia, but like
I love it here.
But what prevents you from just coming here, spend the summers here, and then go to a nicer place the rest of the year?
Nothing.
The snowbird mentality.
I'm definitely open. I'm keeping my mind open, towards the future. But for now, I'm here.
I hear you. For now, same.
For now, I'm here.
I want to fill in the rest of the mystery that we got. We were on the track of filling in the timeline. So I got you up until you're 25, 26, and then I met you when you were 46. So I got to fill in those 20 years. Where does the career path of one Joseph Arthur take you from the point that you revitalized your career after that Lou Reed? The second time they rung your bell on the new song, actually was a hit in America. Come from where I'm from.
Come to where I'm from.
Come to where I'm from. At that point, where does your career go?
Well, I wouldn't say it was a hit, but it was successful. Yeah. It was an indie kind of hit. Yeah,
that's a hit.
Right. And then, I mean, man, it's been a lot of that back and forth, up and down. Like, I mean, I've put out maybe 20 records.
Holy shit.
And
albums?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
20 albums.
I think so. I don't know how many. I have no idea, but
when you lose count, it's a lot.
Yeah, a lot. You know what I mean? Like, actively and without much of a break for all these years. So yeah, 20 albums or something like that. And all of them have just been like, they're always a battle. It's always like some kind of difficulty that you have to overcome to do anything.
Mentally or business wise?
In every way. It's never been, I've never reached this point of just like, okay, now it's taking off. It's like, I feel like I've always been kind of duking it out. You
think that's just life? Like everyone does this. That's how it goes for every business and every life.
Yeah. I think for many, that's how it goes. And I think on some level, it's like that no matter what.
Anything worth having, at least.
Yeah. But, it's never just been like a clear trajectory upwards.
Yeah, smooth sailing where it's on autopilot.
Right.
Are all those albums released all under Peter Gabriel?
No. I've put records out under various labels and then my own imprint, which is Lonely Astronaut, which is great for this new NFT world that I don't have to negotiate. A
lot of the things now are giving the power to the artists.
Yeah, like I'm free to release many of my records in that way without having to ask permission to anyone.
When did you make that move?
Like the first time, I guess, man, I don't know, early 2000s.
That's when you started your own label.
Yeah, probably.
And have
Yeah.
you, has everything since then been on your own, or you team up with people
No,
for
and
distribution,
then I would
certain
get
different projects?
then you get a record deal again all of a sudden, and
It's crazy.
you know, and I was doing like I've done like a bunch of side projects. I was in a band with Danny Harrison, George Harrison's son, and Ben Harper, and that was called Fistful of Mercy,
How many
and
bands you been at this point?
one with Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam called R&DM. I don't know who else. And then Peter Buck and me have a band called Arthur Buck, and are starting a new one now.
To be determined.
To be determined.
That should be the name.
Not bad.
It would be TBD.
We actually
be
need
determined.
a name.
Man, if you could think of a band name for Joe,
To be determined isn't bad.
I like it.
We're right now though we're talking about which one? Acid Blue Flower Path was the last one they came up with.
I want to know what the
I
section
think To
is.
Be Determined might be better than Acid Blue Flower Path.
I like it.
I
I'm
don't know.
biased.
They're both.
What I don't want to know what was going on when that name came to your head.
That name came from outside, not me. I was just
I'd
like,
love to just get an insight into
because
that.
man, here's the deal. Coming up with a band name is it's like one of the hardest things in the world. You think it would be easy, but nowadays anything you come up with, Google it, it's already a band.
Yeah.
Anybody. I mean, can you imagine living in a time when you come up with a band name, The Police, and no one's taken it yet? Like, you can call your band The fucking Police and nobody's got, you know, the Rolling Stones
Everyone's an
is
artist
still
now, too.
available.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, dude, now it's like, yeah, it's tough. It's really hard. It's way harder than you would ever think.
I could believe it. I have a hard
Yeah.
time even fucking getting Instagram handles or
Right.
like websites or, you know, even LLCs. Like
Right.
somebody has Fresh the way I fucking, who the fuck spells it like that? I don't even know
Yeah.
why I spelled it like that. I don't remember what was going on in my head when I thought of this 10 years ago. But
Because it was a clothing line, right?
yeah, I did it originally with clothes and we're bringing some of the clothes back. But but the spelling has no unique history to it. And I don't know why anyone else would spell it like this. But apparently people do. There's a
Yeah.
restaurant in like fucking Delaware, like a juice bar or something like that, spelled like this.
Really?
Yeah, it's just, that's what it is. It's just so many people, everyone's doing it. So
And
it's
as
like,
time goes, too, it's like more and more and more.
I was wondering like how long until .com stops being like a big thing, because they're going to run out of domains, right?
Yeah. It's weird, man.
Do you own your own name, like domains?
Yeah, pretty much. JosephArthur.com.
You do have that?
Yeah.
Someone was saying
Shop
buy all your
Joseph
shit.
Arthur for this.
Okay, that's another thing I wanted to talk about too.
kinda
So
gear.
we'll put a link below to
Yeah.
to get, you know, the clothing and accessories that you make, because they're dope.
Thanks, man. Joseph_Arthur is Instagram.
I'm gonna, all that shit will be, all the links will be below. But as far as the clothes go, you turn your paintings into, you turn your art into clothing.
In the clothes, yeah.
And you did a lot. You had pocketbooks that you made.
Yeah, purses.
Joe, can you pull that up? What was the site?
ShopJosephArthur.com, yeah.
Uh,
There it is. There's the jacket right there.
yeah, like these like satin jackets are fire.
Yeah, if you go to apparel, hit the jacket. Click on the jacket. There you go. And then scroll down. There's tons of stuff.
You got masks too.
Masks.
Can't beat them.
Got it.
Join them.
That was can't beat them, join them. Yeah, hazmat suit.
Let me see that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. You know, Justin from Kava has it.
Oh my
I got
god,
pictures of him in it.
he's a
Funny.
character.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
What do you think of that community, man? Like the community of those people. It's such an interesting
At the Kava?
cross section of people, and I just feel like really kind of special people gravitate to that space.
I think that it's something that we're going to look back at a different point in life and miss that unduplicatable community and period of time that's going on right now. This is not going to last.
I agree.
It feels like it's going to last. It's not, though, forever. As
You're
things never
right.
do, right?
Yeah.
And it's nice sometimes to identify that while it's going on, just kind of appreciate it. Super cool. Talking about
Yeah.
Kava Sutra in New York City.
Shout
Super
out Kava
eclectic
Sutra.
group of people from all different walks of life and every, you know, sex.
It's how we met,
religion.
and we're sitting here right now.
Like, and just all different backgrounds, and it's such an interesting collection of people, and we all do get along.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate the time we get there. A lot of really good people.
Yeah.
Made a lot of strong friendships from that place. I don't know what exactly will cause the eventual demise. It doesn't have to be a bad, explosive, negative ending. Just people move on in
People
life,
move on.
and
You're gonna go to Florida. You know, that
whatever
type
it
of
is, it's
thing.
gonna be those things where it's not gonna be like right now. I can show up at a certain time and I know I can know for a fact I'm gonna know 7, 8, 9, 10 people there.
Right.
You walk in and it's like cheers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone knows your name, and you're like,
Right.
I can tell you if it's 5 o'clock, Abdallah's gonna be there. If it's 2 o'clock, Gene's gonna, I know who's gonna be there when.
Right.
That's a comforting home feeling, which is a lot of the reason why people go there. I believe is that sense of community, that those friends, the hangout, the experience. But it's interesting. It's super interesting.
Yeah, it is. There's like really, really interesting people that go there. Like Beck Lovers, one of the, you know,
Yep.
I mean, there's like Mikey. And
Mikey,
like,
yep.
I don't, you know, I want to shout out people, but like, there's just some really
Julio,
yeah,
all
Julio,
of my Middle Eastern diplomats,
Nina,
Abdallah,
yeah,
Barack, MJ,
yeah.
Fahad. I mean, it's just
Shout out all y'all, Rich.
We'll be literally sitting there in a circle, and there will be, you know, an indie rock artist. You have me, I don't know what the fuck you even call me, Kuwaiti diplomat, and then like a Staten Island Italian guy, and then Jewish Russian kid, and like it just
And
it's such
Drew
a
the psychic, you know, the Drew. Have you met him
we
yet?
have a psychic, and no one told me.
Oh my god, no, he's a proper medium. He's like, if you just Google Drew medium, he'll come up. He's like
He talks to dead people?
The best rated medium on Yahoo of
What?
everyone. Yep. And he's there, and he's like was giving me like a reading last night a little bit, like telling me some
Was
stuff.
it fucking with you?
I mean, I'm so terrified of that shit because like, what if they tell you some crazy news? You know?
But was he talking to dead family members and shit? Like
What was he talking to? What?
like dead family members? What does a
No,
medium do?
no. He was just like kind of giving me like, you know, he was giving me advice like about things, and kind of it's coming from a space that's deep. You can tell like the guy's just tapped in. Like,
Really?
yeah.
You believe in that stuff?
I mean,
And how much of it do you believe if you do?
I do. I believe in it. Yeah. Like there's like Abraham Hicks. Are you familiar with her?
No.
She's a medium that like cultivates this whole like group of people called Abraham Hicks, and she gives spiritual advice. If you like go on YouTube and put in Abraham Hicks, it's like a really very motivating and uplifting thing. And if you listen to her, the wisdom that comes forth is sort of undeniable and beyond. So in that way, I do believe in it.
But is it specifics though, or is it just like
but
good
I also,
overall?
well, in her case, it's more overall. But I guess
I prefer that.
yeah. In Drew's case, I guess he gets real specific and he's really accurate. And there's tons of reviews that say like, there's no way he could have known that. And
Well,
stuff
now
like
I gotta
that.
fucking talk to him.
Yeah, no, I got to too. I have like, I set something up.
That's one of those things where you have to experience it. I won't say for a fact that I know anything in this world. So
Right.
I can't say that it's not true. I would just need some serious experiences to make me believe.
I love having an open mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that in my older years, even though, I mean, whatever, I'm 33, but as I get older,
Still young.
yeah, as I get older, I'm trying to keep that. I'm naturally a hard-headed, kind of stubborn person.
Yeah.
So I have to constantly fight, like thinking that I know everything or things or whatever, and just stay to remember that I know nothing.
Right.
And even the things that you think you do know could be wrong.
But don't psychedelics help you with that?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. My favorite line is never underestimate how wrong you could be because you've been wrong before.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had something where like you just like were just a 180 off from whatever you thought about a person was going to be like, what a situation was, or the totally wrong read? Like,
Yeah.
So you could just as easily be doing that right now about something you're 100% confident in.
That's
and
true.
if you keep that in the back of your mind at all time, I think that's a good like fail safe.
Absolutely. You know, it's sort of like the let go and let God vibe.
Yeah, to an extent. I don't know the God part of it, but
Yeah.
just letting things happen kind of however they're meant to be.
Yeah, just
Or however they coincidentally
there's
play
a
out.
freedom in knowing we're not in control in a way. It's like we're just kind of on a journey, and it's like kind of like you know, you are not your thoughts, kind of just observing the whole thing from a.
That's an interesting concept that most people don't really understand.
Yeah.
And it fucks with me when I think about it.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever heard like someone like Sam Harris talk about like determinism?
I mean, I know I know who Sam Harris is. Determinism, I'm not sure what that is.
Determinism is like that everything, you don't actually have control over anything, and everything that's happening is the delusion of control. And the way to explain it, the way to illustrate it to somebody is, okay, like I'm looking at you right now. Okay, what's your next thought? You don't know it, and you don't have control over it.
Right.
So it's like, if you can't even control or know what your next thought is, what makes you think you're in control of anything?
Yeah. He doesn't believe in free will.
Correct.
Basically. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about that. I like to do this metacognition where it's like, if I'm like afraid or something, then I go like, who's asking, or like, who's afraid? And then who's asking who's afraid? And you just kind of keep like up leveling your perspective from where you're viewing things. So then you become the observer. Well, you become the observer of your thoughts. So once you're the observer of your thoughts, you know for sure you're no longer your thoughts. So you're observing your thoughts. And that's called metacognition. And human beings can do that, whereas like animals apparently can't do that. So it's like, so they say. So they think. How would they know, really?
Yeah.
Like, you know. But so you know, it's the whole thing is like, you're not the movie, you're the screen, you know.
Interesting. You're
So
not the
you're
movie,
the
you're the
screen that the movie's playing on. And once the movie's over, you're completely you're like something, you know, you're fine. No matter what the movie was.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. We won't know till we're dead, so
I guess. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but if you like think about just in your own life, like what has been with you since you
Joe,
were...
I think we could hear that.
Yeah, man, come on, bro. Distracting me. No, but like what's been with you since you were like a kid to now? Is there something in you that has
consistent,
that hasn't changed at all?
Thought wise, personality wise,
or just even consciousness wise?
Yeah, I think there'd be very, very few things. It'd probably be like love for certain people.
No, but like I'm just even talking beyond that. Like, just like, has there been a witness with you this whole time?
I don't know.
Right.
What's the next level of that? The rationale?
There has been. No,
Are you saying that there is?
It's consciousness. It's like the consciousness is just.
But is it the same consciousness fluid through the whole time?
Yeah.
You think?
Like there's a line in it that's solid throughout. And that's like what you actually are. And it's the same in me as it is in you.
I need a joint.
Yeah, you got one?
Smoke?
Yeah.
I gotta get a joint in me. Yeah, I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the infinite now.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about these kind of things because they're beyond words.
Okay.
So that's what makes that's why, like, it's what's difficult to talk about. But if you just investigate in yourself and go like, what has been with you this entire time that has not changed?
But what is a conscious? What
like
is
from when you were a little boy?
But what is consciousness?
To right now.
That's the real fucking mind fuck,
who
right?
Who knows, dude?
Yeah,
that's God or whatever.
Well,
that's what everything springs from consciousness.
So a recent new thought, and I'm not inventing this, I'm sure this is a lot of people think of this, but this for me, a new perspective that I like locked into was, you know, the thought of God is kind of like this elusive thing. It's like when you hear it, you think like my original like image in my head is like of a guy with a white beard and like a fucking, you know what I mean, like a toga, more or less, like watching down on everybody, like a Santa Claus type of figure it comes down to. But if you could boil it down to the simplest, most logical thing, I feel like God and the devil would just be your positive and negative thoughts in your head, right? Like when that voice you're talking about, right? If it's not you, who is it? Like that's God, devil, whatever. That's good, evil. Because 99.9% of the time, you know what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be.
Yeah, but it's beyond your thoughts.
Your conscience tells you that.
Your thoughts are, it's beyond your thoughts. It's the thing your thoughts are like bouncing on. Your thoughts are bouncing on consciousness. So it's like you identify more and more as consciousness, not thoughts.
Separating, that's the next level.
Separating yourself out from thoughts by observing them, by saying, okay, who's thinking that? Now you're watching your thoughts. So who's
watching this exercise?
So who's watching your thoughts?
Consciousness.
Right. Ding, 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 ding.
I'm like, I hope that I'm getting this right. I don't want to fail this quiz. Oh, man. Fucking A. So,
but there's loads of gurus and stuff that talk about this shit. Like
those guys fucking freak me out, bro.
Or like Eckhart Tolle. I love that shit.
But like, I don't know, those fucking guys, sometimes, some of them are cool because I like some of the ones that are super selfless.
Yeah.
They come off as genuine. But a lot of the guys, they come off like prophesize, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
just up their own ass or whatever.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. No, it's just, I like that kind of stuff because what it does is it kind of gives you an escape sort of, or like a relief valve, knowing that, okay, ultimately this is all just like, a movie in some kind of way.
Dust in the wind.
Yeah, like dust in the wind.
But do you identify with, is there a label you put on your ideology? Do you have do you subscribe to a certain sector?
I mean, that just becomes so problematic.
100%, but you don't.
So I do inside, like, to a degree, but I'm also open to like
what though? What do you call yourself, a Buddhist? Do you consider yourself a?
No, I don't like to put labels on it like that because I consider myself all that, like a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Christian. I identify with lots of that stuff, but like, and definitely I pray and get a lot of comfort from that. What
kind of prayer? Just like old school Catholic prayer, like
the Ho'oponopono mantra. I talk about I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. That's a kind of a prayer, and that's just like something that can sort of
meditate on that,
relieve you from the bondage of self, because it just it basically, you take responsibility for everything, and you sort of it's all about taking ownership and responsibility for everything that disturbs you in your field of consciousness.
What is that mantra again?
Ho'oponopono, I love you, I'm sorry.
Ho'oponopono?
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
H-O, ho.
Ho.
Ho. And then this, what is that? And then O, P-O-N-O.
Ho'oponopono.
P-O-N-O.
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono. All right.
Pono means to make right. Pono means to make double right. So you make it right with yourself, and then in doing that, you make it right with everyone else. I mean, it's lofty shit, but what happens is say somebody's disturbing you, and then you say, you feel like somebody betrayed you or something like that.
Okay. And
instead of going to them and going, hey man, fuck you, you owe me an apology, you take that space to yourself, and you apply that mantra on it. You think of that person and you apologize. You say,
what is it, the whole no grudges, basically?
It's basically taking responsibility for everything in your field of consciousness. So if somebody else has a problem, because it's in your field of consciousness, it's your problem. So somebody could betray you, but you, in your own self, you say, I'm sorry that you have that. I'm sorry that you're suffering that way, even if they betrayed you. So it's like, I'm sorry, and I love you.
Regardless.
I love you for making me evolve and helping my evolution on this journey.
Even if you feel like they fucked you.
Especially if you feel like they fucked you. Please forgive me for this energy that you created, you motherfucker. No, but so you're elevating yourself. So it's like, and then thank you for this. So it just does this thing, and then you repeat it, and you just kind of like let that vibration play out. And what it does, man, it's weird how like, and it's difficult. I get it, especially when you feel like somebody's wronged you. And I'm not pretending like I always do this or know how to
but
do
you
this all the
strive
time.
for that.
But I strive
Yeah.
for it, and I've gotten incredible results. It particularly good if you're in a narcissistic predicament with somebody who will never apologize to you. It's like a family member or something like that, and you've gone no contact or whatever. You can go quite a long way at healing those wounds by practicing that mantra towards that person, just in the psychic space. And then in my own experience, I've had relationships that I thought were forever flipped upside down, completely mended from doing
Really?
this kind of work. Yeah.
But now why? Because you think when you came back, you approached it with a different mentality, or
Yeah, because it just, you're taking responsibility for everything in your field of consciousness. So it's the opposite of a victim mentality, which is a lot of what's being promoted nowadays.
Yeah.
It's the direct opposite of that. It's
you are not a victim.
even if you came up to me and hit me in the face,
I would never.
not that you would, but even if you did, and then I, took that energy and applied that prayer mantra. I know that's like turning the other cheek to the extreme, but like, it's like you taking responsibility for everything that happens to you. Basically, that was like a sloppy example. What I was
Because
trying
you
to
think
make.
that it is your fault somehow, or because it doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't matter.
the end of the
Because at the end of the day, whatever is in your field of consciousness is somehow a reflection of you anyway. So if you like look at the whole world from this less like me, I'm my thoughts, more identifying with I'm consciousness. And so therefore everything in my consciousness is me. So you're me. So if you're disturbing me, a part of me is disturbing me. So let me be smart about how I deal with that, rather than going, hey, I want you to do this, and you're not going to do, because
I'm
you're
the
like,
victim. It's
fuck
your
you.
fault.
I think you.
Yeah.
I don't have to wait for your permission to resolve it. I can resolve it.
Interesting.
It's empowering. And
I
that's,
like that. Yeah.
And that's the thing people don't really get. It's like they think like, wait, I'm not going to say I'm sorry. What am I, a sucker? Like, nah, man,
Ego.
you're letting your ego drive the bus.
Yep.
And now it's a short bus.
So that's one of the things. So I feel like that in another thing I've been trying to work on again, and we're far from perfect, right? We fuck up all the time.
All the time, bro.
But as far as ego, in not the sense of like an arrogant sense, but in the sense of like that me thing, and like you said, like when your ego gets the best, you're not apologizing or dragging something out. What the fuck? You think I'm a sucker?
Yeah.
Something that I've been working on. I brought into my newest relationship as far as a female goes, and I feel like in that setting is when it's almost most important.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to obviously make sure that the person that you're with has your best intentions, because with that kind of a mindset, you can get taken advantage of if that person is narcissistic or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
But if you have somebody who's, got your best intentions, if you drop the ego in a lot of the situations, it goes so far.
Right.
I've noticed that, anecdotally in my own life, but
Yeah.
where in past situations I may have gone to sleep pissed off, carried it on for as long as I felt I want to, because I was wronged, and
Right.
whatever slighted and whatever bullshit situation it was, it's okay. What are we gonna do about this? Like, what does it matter? Like, are we gonna go our separate ways over this? No. Okay, so then let's talk about it. Move the fuck on. And that I think that's a life-changing perspective shift that I've enjoyed in the last year, really, just that recently, honestly.
Yeah.
Because in my past, I would, if I felt like I was right, that's all I needed to put my foot in the ground, plant my flag. I'm not moving.
Right.
But now it's less important who's right and more important how we progress from here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I like the way that Ho'oponopono kind of wraps that in, because at the end of the day, if your goal is to progress with somebody, let's just say this example, who was wrong is really not very important.
Right.
It's figuring it out together, moving forward.
That's true.
Like how we're gonna avoid this again,
Yeah.
and make it both people feel okay. I try to, and it's one of the things I think I'm getting better at, is objectively removing yourself from a situation,
Right.
and saying, yeah, like I wasn't wrong. Let's analyze this fucking what happened as if we're not even involved. Remove the emotion attachment from it.
Yeah.
And let's analyze it X's and O's. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Smart. Yeah.
Let's believe me, I'm far from perfecting it.
Oh,
But
me too, by the way, too. Like I talk about all this stuff, but it's like, a lot of the time I'm in the muck, man. It's not
Well,
like I'm like riding on a cloud of
constant battle, like you
happiness.
said,
It's
though.
like, yeah, it's every day is like getting the state of mind, like, right, doing this, that, and the
That
other.
why you run?
That's why I run. That's
You run a
why
lot.
I run a fair amount,
Yeah, no, you run a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and isn't that why you exercise?
I think a lot of it is, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's that getting that demon off your back. It's that get to conquer that inner bitch. It's that
Conquer the inner bitch.
it's that endorphin in a good way spike. It's the rewarding physical results. It's a lot of things, but for sure it's conquering those demons,
Yeah.
keeping your head on straight. I could tell the difference. A lot of times when you get into a rhythm of doing it for a while, it becomes a new baseline and you forget. Recently, I was sidelined from the surgery. I couldn't train for 2 months. And like, I noticed a difference in myself.
Yeah.
I know I was more irritable. I know I was quicker to fucking snap. I know I was less happy overall. So it's for real.
What about yoga? I love that shit.
I'd like to, and I've been saying this for over a decade, so it's one of those things where I just procrastinating. I don't know why. I don't know what about it. It's weird psychology about me has not dedicated to it yet. I know it's good for you.
Yeah.
And I know it'll help me in my other aspects of fitness.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I guess it's one of those things where I think I know I'm going to suck at it at first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe I don't want to open that box.
Yeah. I feel you on that.
I'm very obsessive, so sometimes I know I'm going to go over the top with something. So I don't crack unless I'm ready to dedicate like a year of my life to it. Cause I could easily get sucked into like some kind of obsession where I become a yogi. Like,
I did that. I got into it and started going to like 2 hot yoga classes every day.
Get the fuck out of here.
Right before the pandemic, yeah.
So what we call an addict. Like
definitely. Yeah. And then once the pandemic hit and there was no more classes,
a day?
I would do that a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, I was so into it. I was in the best shape ever. And then
and running.
And boxing. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And then recently I like stopped doing it almost entirely, and then recently I've just been like, you know what, just do like 15 minutes, and then that turns into 30 minutes, and then it's back on the thing. But yeah, just learning how to, if you don't get extreme, still keeping it in your life.
That's a tough thing for
me. That's tough. Like I tend to like, oh, if I'm gonna run, I should be training for a marathon. Or it's like
anything worth doing is worth overdoing. That's how I always feel. But it's another battle. You have to remember that moderation thing, right?
Yeah.
That becomes extremely dangerous. I know my mother was worried sick about me my whole life because she thought if this kid ever gets into drugs, we're never gonna see him again.
Yeah.
Like if he applies any of his mental, like the way he operates in any other capacity to drugs, like he's fucked.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
And luckily, for whatever reason, that never happened to me. I mean, I've dabbled in a bunch of things recreationally and whatever it is. I like to have a good time. We go out, have a drink, whatever. But I've never gotten addicted to a substance like that where, like, it became a serious problem. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I've had that kind of addictive energy into bad things before too, and it is a spooky space, definitely.
Do you know it while it's going on? Is it one of those things where you're conscious of your fuck up, or is it buried, or do you not even realize till it's too late?
Well, it's a little bit of both. It's like but
I shouldn't be doing this, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, it's like I think it's like, yeah, and then you're not really in your right mind, and so you make different decisions based on new information.
What do you mean?
Well, the new information being drugs.
Okay.
like you make so your decision.
How old were you when that happened to you?
Oh, when I started using stuff like that, young. Like I said, I was in a professional music situation, so there was.
Well, by health class standards, you were an alcoholic in your teenage years.
Yeah, I started going. Yeah, I went into like, recovery from that in a genuine way before I turned 21.
Wow. So, did you actually go to a program?
Yeah, when I was still not even legal drinking age.
Shit. Yeah.
I turned 4 days before I turned 21, actually.
Checked into a rehab?
Well, I started, essentially, yes. And then I stayed sober for over 2.5 years after that. So, which was also, I think, why things went well for me too. So it's always been a kind of an up and a down thing. That's the thing with the kava thing, where it's like, if people aren't familiar with kava, that's like an interesting, intoxicating substance that doesn't lead to major
reckless decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Weird.
It's an interesting one because it has like this kind of buzz.
But do you think? Oh, it's definitely a buzz.
It's a buzz.
1000%. It's a drug. Let's not dance around the bush here. Like I don't care what anybody says.
Are you taking me out of denial? I guess. Okay, I wasn't ready for that. No. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I mean, listen, I'm sorry, but like,
no, you're right. It is.
You know, but then so is coffee, right? And so is cigarette. Like, let's keep it 100. Like, you know, the drugs is a very loose label. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's not. It doesn't have to be a bad drug. But my question is,
a lot of recovery people go to the kava.
Kind of proving my point.
Yeah.
But the question I have is how much of the fact that it's not a problem and how much the fact that other
makes
drugs
it a problem
do, what I'm saying, but how much of the fact that other drugs do become a problem and this one doesn't is solely based around legality. Now hear me out. If cigarettes tomorrow became illegal in America, you would have millions of people that overnight became classified as illegal drug addicts and who would do anything to keep their habit going. And you would see regular ass people on the black market and making questionable decisions to get their cigarettes. So that would lead to a totally different style of living and decision making, because they can't just walk into 7-Eleven and buy a pack of cigarettes for $10. I don't know what the price on nowadays, but whatever. Now they have to go to the black market and meet someone in an alley. Now prices may go up. Maybe now they had to fucking start cutting into their, now it's $50 a pack, but they're still paying because they're addicted. Do you think that would cause, I know for a fact that would cause people's, because we saw it in the 20s with Prohibition, what it did to people with alcohol. Like, do you think that something simply as making something illegal would make it completely different? Because right now we can go to the tea place and hang out, like whatever. It's not a big deal. If it was illegal overnight, do you think that it might be closer to a drug that caused ramifications? Because the ramifications will happen a lot of times from not being able to get it or afford it.
No, like I don't think kava would ever be that way. No, because it's just too
chill.
Yeah, it's too chill, man. Like those drugs, like, you know, like doing stuff like blow or something changes your decision making in such a dramatic fashion. Like, you know, it's like certain drugs really alter you towards the darkness a lot more. But if you ever read like, or there's this book called Outwitting the Devil, by Napoleon Hill.
I know Napoleon Hill, but
I think it's by him.
Full disclosure, I haven't read a book since Crash.
Who reads books?
Which was in 6th grade.
But he's got a thing in there with an interview with the devil, and he asked the devil, what's worse? And this was in the 30s or something like that, when doctors would prescribe you cigarettes. Like they didn't even think cigarettes were bad for you. They were like health food back then. And in that time, he asked the devil, like, hey, what's worse, cigarettes or alcohol? And the devil answers, cigarettes are worse because, or in his case, better for fucking up humans, because they lead to drifting. They lead to like, which means like, and then in drifting, that's when you invite in other. So it's like the momentum of darkness.
Like a gateway?
It's a gateway thing of like how everything works on momentum, and cigarettes are like the gateway of that momentum into a downward trajectory. And I find that is true with me. Like if I'm smoking, it's harder for me to get up and go on a run. It's easier for me to like reinforce
from cigarettes.
Negative habits. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never tried a cigarette. I don't know. I've smoked.
That's amazing.
I smoked THC. Obviously, and that has a bad effect on me. Just because I feel like it makes me lazy. And it takes away my confidence. Like,
nothing will. Yeah, like if I post something like a flower or something on Instagram and then smoke a joint, I'll be like,
take it down.
Why did I post the flower? Like, what am I, an idiot? Like, yeah, like it's so fucking weird.
An idiot.
Like, you know,
what was I thinking?
Not to mention if you like actually push yourself out there into like a little bit more of an extreme way, then you smoke a joint, then you're like, oh my God, why am I? What am I doing?
Yeah, I can't smoke a joint and watch one of my rants. Like that.
No, that's like,
too analytical. I want to analyze too much.
Yeah, but it boosts creativity in certain aspects.
If I can be alone in a dark room with like a pen and a pad, great thing.
It's a good thing.
If I have to be in a social setting, not that great.
Right, I agree.
My ambition to do anything besides eat and sleep goes out the window.
See, I don't find that with that.
I'm a bad example. I'm a bad use case, but like there are people I know who get productive.
Yeah, it's good for making music.
But even like regular like pen and paper jobs or working out. I know people who smoke weed and then go to their desk job.
Or
That makes them concentrate.
you know what else people do sometimes in yoga studios? I've seen people take kratom right before, like
That I would like.
yeah, manga da or whatever, right before a yoga session.
I mean, I love kratom.
Couple hits of like a weed pen.
I think
And some
kratom
manga
is very
da, and then
underrated.
a 90-minute hot
Yeah.
yoga session.
Crushing it.
You're gonna be crushing it.
Kratom's super underrated. We need to. We should be.
I don't know though. It's habit forming. So
What
that
is it?
it's but it's habit forming in a kind of opiate sense
What
where
is
you
an
get
opiate?
restless leg syndrome.
It is
and
an
you
opiate.
like
Oh, you get withdrawals.
You get proper withdrawals. Whereas like kava, there's no withdrawal.
There's guys at the kava bar, and they're like, "I can't sleep lately. I'm
Right.
getting chills." I'm like, "Dude, you're withdrawing from kratom. You realize that, right? Not
Yeah.
to scare anybody off, but
Now it's good for people with hardcore opiate addictions as an alternative to that.
to
but
either wean off it
to wean off of it.
or as a replacement of here and there. It shouldn't. I mean, people abuse it, but like everything else, people abuse everything, right? So,
right.
but I'm a big proponent of kratom. Another one of those things that I'm always scared they're gonna make it illegal.
Yeah.
Like one bad news story, I can see them fucking canceling the whole shit.
Yeah, but I think it'll always be easy to get. Too many. The cat's out of the bag on that. So many people use that.
But I just don't want to. I don't want it to go in that other realm. Like why I had to
Are
deal
they
with it in the black market.
proposing that it become illegal?
They've done it a couple times. I remember Dylan went last year to like a march in
No,
DC.
I
and shit.
remember people.
But like
talking
they
about
need
that.
to, in my opinion, and this is very unpopular to a lot of people that I even like my family, like, but I think all drugs should be legal.
Yeah, I got that you were saying something along those lines with the whole kava example before.
Because I just think that a lot of the problems that exist from drugs are created by, ironically, is illegal status.
Yeah.
Accessibility, affordability, danger, and cleanliness, like purity of the drugs, are all things that come into question because it's being handled by the black market.
Right.
If they were above board, all of those things, it'd be affordable, it would be safe, like as far, not safe, but it would be pure. You're not gonna get fentanyl in your pills because they're fake. You know what I mean? You'll get real, whatever you're trying to get. You know, you won't have to go meet somebody in an alley who might rob you or because there's a cash transaction.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So all these things will get eliminated. It gets taken out of the hands of the black market. All that money becomes taxed. There's so many more benefits. And the biggest thing is that people always say to me, like, when we have this argument is, oh, then everybody would do it. First off, everybody's already doing drugs. First off.
Yeah.
Second off, nobody doesn't do drugs because they're illegal.
Right.
No one's like, I want to get a fucking bag of blow and do some lines tonight. But you know what though? It's, you know, there's a law about that. They go and fucking do it anyway.
Well,
it's not stopping. It's not deterring crime.
What's been the effect overall of like
the war on drugs?
or no, of weed becoming legal in certain places?
Well, the problem with weed is
have
that
they
it's
measured
not a
that
true,
in any way?
but it's not a
Like,
true test case because it's still not legal everywhere. It's still federally illegal. Every place has its own rules, and they're all like everything the government does and fucks up. They're over regulating it to death.
right.
It costs more money to make it right now legally than illegal. So the black market still thrives because they can't compete with people doing all this testing and ridiculous fucking. The government over regulates it. If they just
Is it
let
legal
it go,
in Jersey now?
they just approved it for recreational. Yeah.
So we could go to Jersey and buy weed.
I don't believe
now.
they're open yet, but I think they're working on it. I know
can't
the
believe
medicinal
New York
places have been
City's
open.
still lagging behind, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand either. I'm sure there's a backdoor reason why it's not. There's someone making money on it. You know what I mean?
It's De Blasio's fault. Fuck
It's-
that guy.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. I think that you know we'll have everywhere. It'll be federally legal probably in the next 5 years.
Right on. How long have we been going, man? It's 4:30.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I have a solid 2 hours probably.
2 hours?
Yeah.
How long are your podcasts usually?
They're always between 2 and 3 hours, pretty much.
Wow.
Always, yeah.
It's hard for me to go that long.
Really?
I'm like more an hour and a half. And, you know, sometimes they'll go long. But
We had one that was like 3.5.
Yeah, I've done that before. Only a couple times.
You
but
get
like,
caught up.
yeah, it's fun. But at a certain point, I'm just like, okay, I can't talk anymore. Like the Joe Rogan, like 3
5
hours every
hours with-
time. It's like I don't know how he does that.
Fucking Kratom.
He's
Tom doing it right now.
oh really?
I mean, yeah, we had a half gallon of tea between the two of us.
That's true.
Fuck. Well, on that note, I think might be a good place to leave it then.
Yeah, man, this is fun.
Yeah, had a good time as
Yeah.
always. I learned a little bit more about you, the mystery that is Joe, and kind of filled in a little bit of, where, because the career thing always fascinated me. When I met you, I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And I didn't think that me and you would agree on as many things that we did.
Yeah.
I was very pleasantly surprised that we think alike in a lot of ways. And it's more just being able to think for yourself, which I think is a strange thing nowadays. It's a rare thing nowadays.
Well, it's weird that it's an edgy thing to proclaim, like that.
I don't just accept the narrative.
Freedom of thought and free speech are like, even me saying that is like,
Badass.
which makes me go like really, that's where we're at. Like that.
We are.
I feel like that shouldn't be an edgy thing to say.
But it is, and that is where we're at.
It's interesting times, my friend. Interesting times indeed.
It is. So I'm gonna put the links below to shop for for the clothes and accessories.
All right.
Tag his Instagram, and he also his podcast. And it was great having you on, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you.
And
Thanks, John.
I'm gonna go back at a kava, and I will see you guys next week.